our meeting to order on this Wednesday, April 19th. With a roll call, please.
Colleen Klimczak,
Present.
Claudia Parker,
Present.
Judy Rayson,
Present.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Michael Onmiller, Kim Leonard, present, Denise Jones,
Yes.
all accounted for.
Great. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If my fellow board members could take a glance at the agenda at your places, and if there's no changes, if I could have a first motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make the first motion.
Thank you, Denise. And a second?
Second.
Great. And a roll call, please.
Denise Jones,
Yes.
Michael Onmiller,
Yay.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Judy Rayson,
Yes.
Kim Leonard, yes, Claudia Parker,
Yes.
Colleen Klimczak,
Yes.
motion approved.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. We are starting with staff reports, excuse me.
Staff reports. Great, thank you so much. So our first report for tonight is for the D124 Foundation. So I'd like to invite Ms. Morzek up. I always say your name wrong. Can you pronounce your Morik. Thank you so much.
We'll just do a Sam.
Yes, hi Sam.
Good evening, Dr. Woodland and the Board of Education. I am excited to announce tonight that our POP fundraiser held last month has raised for the foundation over $11,000. It will also put over $500 in STEAM supplies into each one of our 5 buildings. And the students who participated went home with lots of fun goodies that I'm sure their parents are really appreciating. Looking forward, the foundation is happy to announce that we'll be hosting the annual Back to School Bash on August 24th, our first day back to school. We have some fun new things planned and returning of Dr. Woodland's favorite, the foam pit.
Such a big hit.
It's a huge hit.
Oh my God.
As always, these events do not occur without volunteers, so we're always looking for people to help us jump in and join in the fun. And if you have anyone that you know that would like to sponsor the event or add donations to our raffle items, we're happy to take those too. And we're working on updating links and volunteer forms and all of that to the website. Over the next few months, we're also looking at some larger scale fundraising opportunities and larger opportunities to help the school district and our students. And we are continuing to support our school families that are going through trauma within their lives or financial hardship. So, any questions about what all we're up to?
Yeah,
That's
what's the big
fabulous that
ticket?
you, yeah, that is fabulous you raised that much money this year.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And we probably hit a little speed bump because we listened to the fundraising company, went ahead of spring break, but that meant we were competing with St. Patrick's. So we're gonna work on not,
Yes, well,
not doing
congratulations, it's
that,
a lot
but
of work.
we do have, the foundation is 501c3, which gives us opportunity to go after sporting event tickets and airlines and large corporations and large donors. And so we have board members who are willing to hop in there and try to get their hands on those, and then we'll figure out what we're probably looking at some type of raffling opportunity so we can make some money off of those donations.
Awesome.
We'll see.
Great
Lots of
job.
work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Very good. Okay.
So next,
Could we go after the board, the retiring board members?
of course.
Oh, sure.
Of course, of
Okay.
course, of course. We're moving on to our retiring board.
Okay, there you go, just like that.
Yes, yes. All right, Colleen. I feel like it's the end of an era, so I'm gonna try not to cry.
Yeah, I
I
brought
promise.
tissues. I did, I brought tissues, 'cause, yeah. So, we actually have 3 board members who are leaving us. So we have Kim Leonard with 12 years of service. We have Claudia Parker with 6 years of service, and we have Judy Rayson with 2 years of service. So I want you all to do the math. So every year of service is 20-ish board meetings. Okay, so 40, 240, I can't even count that high, like, yeah. So, and how many committees and committee meetings have you been a part of? How many different board members have you worked with, have come and gone during your tenure, right? Kim and Claudia, you can mark your time in terms of number of superintendents that you've worked with, like, I mean, come on, right? And then there's the work that others don't see, but is completed nonetheless. And while we as board members absolutely know that the majority of our many hours of dedication are those unseen but necessary hours. Emails received and sent, I could just say today, how many did I pester you all with today? My gosh. I know, right? But more importantly, the positive impact on students, parents, teachers, and community members. So Judy, I met you with your excellent work first on foundation, right? You jumped into committee work with both feet 2 years ago, saying yes to serving on Arrow. Like without hesitating and immediately upon being seated as a board member, and they're building a building, like, come on, right? I always value your insights. You all don't know it, but in closed session, she literally is right here next to me at all of our meetings. And I am so glad that we've had the opportunity to serve. And I admire you for sharing your love of teaching with your classroom students, surely, but now with your future students, future teachers as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak about Judy. So Judy was elected to serve Evergreen Park in 2021. She's obviously served in the capacity of a school board member. A few words that describe Judy is intuitive, patient, and dedicated. As a fellow teacher, I always knew that I could count on Judy to do her homework. And although she didn't always say a lot, when she did say what was on her mind, it was done so thoughtfully, respectfully, and with intentionality. Her words are mighty and powerful. Judy, I am beyond grateful to have the opportunity to work alongside of you, and I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors. So we do have something for you. We'd like to do pictures, obviously. That's what we do.
That's what we do, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you so much. Such great words, I want to say. You are the best. Thank you so much. Photo?
Should we do all the photos at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Right, we'll do all the
Too many times to stand up.
That's true, right? Okay.
I have something to say about Judy as well, because I used to, my daughter and I would walk through the community and I would see Judy out on a little jog, and she and I had served together on some committee. I think it was the Evergreen Reads Committee at one point. And so I thought, man, she would be an awesome school board member. So one time I just saw her on the street and I was like, there's an opening for school board. You would be so perfect. I would love it if you, and she was like, I don't know. And I was like, I'll help you get signatures. She's like, I'll consider it. And I was like, I'll help you get signatures. So she called me one day and was like, did you really mean that you would help me get signatures? I'm like, I'll help you get signatures. So I take a lot of pride in saying I recruited Judy to the board, and I think that you have served well. And you have served to your own convictions. You haven't been moved or swayed by anybody's opinions, regardless of how strong they are. But I think you have been an asset to this board, and I am privileged and honored that we were able to serve together.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the kind words. I will miss working with all of you, and I've really enjoyed the time.
We will miss you.
Yeah. Next up. Okay. So Claudia, you and I have been on the board for almost the same amount of time, really, right? But I knew you first when you were serving as the district as our communications consultant. That's when I first met you. Your passion and commitment to our students and district has been unwavering. Unwavering. It has been a pleasure, in addition to your board work, to watch you pursue excellence professionally as well. And I just want to say too, all three of these women, these amazing women, set such an example for all of us and for their own children and daughters on how to be a servant leader. So thank you so much for your 6 years and dozens, if not hundreds, of board meetings and emails and everything else as you've had your time with us. So I almost jumped ahead again, didn't I? Okay.
Okay, so Claudia was elected in 2018. She served in the capacity of school board member and most recently as the school board vice president. A few words that describe Claudia are passionate, resourceful, and loyal. Her commitment to Evergreen Park, to school district, is always above and beyond, as she truly wants what is best for kids in the community. Her dedication to communication and equity has always allowed me to grow both personally and professionally. Claudia, you have taught me so much, and I am forever grateful for the opportunity to serve with you. Thank you.
You forgot feisty.
Feisty. Oh, that's a good one.
We all know.
We all
We
know.
have to say, we all know. So absolutely. So Claudia, I would like to present you. Okay. Plaques
Thank you.
for your service to the Board of Education.
Oh, I love it.
There's that, and
Thank
there's
you
that.
so much.
Thank you, absolutely.
I'm a hugger.
I know you are.
Thank you so much.
glad to have you this time.
I wanna say one thing. I bet you
Thanks,
do.
Jenna.
I do. And I just wanna add that I was the person that recruited Claudia. I remember saying, you don't work for the school anymore, you will love this work. And no matter what, through all of our differences, we have always worked with what's best for our whole school community. So you've certainly left a footprint on D124 and the hearts of many, so
Yay.
you will be missed.
Kimberly Leonard. So you had already been on the board for 6 years when I came on.
Yes.
6 years. Wow. I didn't know you personally. But I knew who you were from my other interactions with the school district, and I had absolutely admired your service. You were the board president for my first 4 years on the board. There have been weeks and probably months when you were my first or second most texted person. Other than my husband, sorry honey, I know he's not watching, he's at the dentist. But truly, if I were to look back, as a board member, as the vice president of the board to your president of the board, and now you are my second brain when it comes to all things board work, I am so glad that I have walked this path with you. Teacher, administrator, principal yourself, your commitment to your students, to education for your own children, for the students of 124, and for your students in your building as well. You are truly remarkable. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm not gonna look at you.
I made it.
So Kim was elected to serve Evergreen Park School District in 2011. She served in the capacity of school board secretary and school board president for 6 years. A few words that describe Kim are fun-loving, although she swears a lot. Instinctive and committed. Kim, for some time now, has been the glue that has held together the future of Evergreen Park 124. She's spent countless volunteer hours, and I don't even know how many cell phone minutes, because she can talk a lot, in dedication to our kids, our teachers, and our community. Her drive to get the work done is just something that is worth recognizing. She understands the big picture, yet is willing to provide such critical small details that is essential to the success of every decision we make. I will never forget my very first interaction with Kim Leonard. Although I was nervous to meet her and the rest of the board, her sense of calm and approachability shined through, giving me a sense of comfort to do the work right alongside her. thank you, Kim, for your willingness to coach me, support me, inspire me to do what's best for Evergreen Park. So, thank you.
I don't know, if you three wanna like swap colors at the end, like maybe you have a favorite or something, I don't know.
Where's your mom?
For your 12 years of service.
Oh my gosh.
You forgot to add how she knows everyone.
She knows everyone by name.
Everything.
She knows it all. Okay, so let's grab a picture of everybody.
Yes,
Please, oh please.
You're gonna
We
to
have
take
to let
that spot,
Claudia
right?
arrange
You're
us.
willing to
Oh my gosh,
Small group,
the last arrangement.
I know, right? We are putty in your hands, Claudia.
Kim is
Yeah.
the one board member
You should be in the middle.
that I can say I have fought with and loved like a sister.
Okay.
We did good.
Yay! Okay.
And there's cupcakes.
Oh, that's why we have cupcakes.
Yeah, of course. We have a lot of celebrating, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next.
Yes, I'm ready. We're gonna
Yes.
go backwards.
Okay, now we're gonna go backwards, right?
All right, so we would like to invite Miss Mayor Burke up to give us a presentation on the extension of TIF. And this is really opportunity for information, and we love to open up the discussion, and we're excited to have you.
So first of all, Claudia, Kim, Judy, I just met you, but I've worked with these guys for many, many years, and I truly appreciate everything you've done for Evergreen Park and the students in the district. I know being on a school board can be a thankless job. It's a lot of long hours, it's a lot of detail, it's a lot of responsibility, and so thank you for everything you've done. And even though I know you're retiring from the board, I'm sure you're still gonna stay involved in things around town, so I'm sure we'll see you. So first of all, thank you. And then I will be assisted by our village attorney, Vince Kankar, who has the institutional knowledge, so to speak, about the 95th Street TIF district. It's been in existence since before I was mayor. And state statute allows for the extension of a TIF district for 12 additional years. And so what I have presented to, that's my phone, to the board is an opportunity to talk to you about our desire to extend it for the 12 years. At the end of 12 years, it's done. And, hopefully that the development that has happened along the 95th Street TIF district will be positive for all the taxing bodies. But I think it is important to extend it. I think it's been a huge economic development tool for our village. I think it has the flexibility within the TIF district has allowed us to keep up 95th Street, keep it attractive for businesses, keep it attractive for residents, and to help it complement our residential stock so that we have not only great, vibrant neighborhoods, but we have a great, vibrant business district. As the village has developed different additional parts of town along Western Avenue and also, 95th Street closer to Western, that's never gone in a TIF district. So all the increased EAV that has happened throughout town because of those extensions, all of that has benefited our taxing district. So I think we've been pretty judicious in the use of it, and I think it's a great economic development tool. I think I said to Superintendent Woodland and Colleen, it's not my money, it's not your money, it's the residents' money. So how do we best put this to work for our residents? So we have put together a proposal for some sharing of the resources. We've communicated that, hopefully that's, and it's, something that Aries and our attorney have worked through. We're working in conjunction with the high school district, and they've been positively receiving it, so I'm hopeful that there could be some meeting of the minds with the school board as well. So if we want to get into kind of facts and figures and whatnot, I'm gonna call up our attorney, but if there's any general questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Mayor Burke, I have a question.
Yes.
If the school district declines the extension, will the village create a contiguous TIF or a TIF immediately over the 95th Street TIF that currently exists?
So to create a new TIF?
A new TIF. So our understanding of it is if there's a contiguous TIF, a TIF that shares a boundary with it, the old one can lapse, but then the remaining balance can be transferred into the newly created TIF.
That would not be our plan.
Okay.
I mean, the hope is to reach an agreement,
Of course.
where we can all benefit, but
So for 23 years, and obviously you have not been part of it, right? They've used this money well, and there is this thought that, like, so 23 years ago, our taxes were frozen at the, for our revenue from the, that district has been frozen. And the agreement that you were asking for, would it bring us up to 2023 taxes moving on? So would it unfreeze where we're at and start at the 2023 level? And then the intergovernmental agreement?
no, so the proposal, and Vince, if I don't say this right, tell me. But the proposal would take what the receipts are from the increment of the district and share those with you on a percentage basis every year for use within the school district. And the same would hold true at a different percentage because it's a different district, fewer kids, et cetera, for the high school. So you'd get a much larger share than the high school.
But you're asking if there was a boost.
So right now,
Change our EAP level.
it would not change our EAP. And like, this is what I struggle with, because I have been on board for 12 years. And so we have went through a strike. We have went through almost strikes. We worked really hard to keep our teachers, paid at a level that we can afford. And by extending this for 12 years, it does not, so how does it help our schools? How does it help our teachers, our staff, our buildings, our students? While 23 years is a big chunk of time to take that TIF district money and use it, I just feel like we've had conversation, like you've had 23 years to, and not you personally, but the village has 23 years to use it and to expand it. And for the next 12 years, what would you envision that money being used for?
Sure. Yeah, the uses that come with economic development, and it's hard to predict I don't know what's going to come down the pike in 12 years, or what redevelopment opportunities will be there. But using it for, for redevelopment, using it for the environment, so it stays in an attractive thing, using it, our biggest challenge on 95th Street is parking. We all know that, and the village has been able to use TIF dollars to create parking, and that increases the value of the businesses and the attractiveness of the other buildings, because now people have somewhere to park. I mean, no parking is the biggest problem. So, but, I don't know I don't know what business is going to come and go, what property is going to come on the market to be redeveloped in the next 12 years. I don't have a crystal ball, but we want to be ready for it, and we want to be able to keep it. But to your point, under this agreement, we would be sharing there would be dollars coming to the school district.
But it wouldn't be the same as what we would if we did just let the TIF lapse. We would have more money if the TIF did not get renewed, because we would
That's
be able to, our EAV would rise from 2001 or 2002 to 2023. That's a lot of money, and that could, I mean, when I look at it, it's not that, I understand what you're saying, like parking's a problem. Educating our children is our number one priority. And that also creates people wanna live in Evergreen because we have solid schools. And when I look at the potential revenue when we bring, if we were to not renew this TIF, that would, again, like I feel like for 23 years, you've had this opportunity to revitalize or to continue it. And I kind of feel like we need to now look back at our schools and say, how can we help support them? Because parking lots on 95th won't necessarily.
It's not just parking lots,
I
and
know
I don't wanna
that,
characterize
yes.
like that.
No,
Yeah.
but parking lots, pavement, I mean, I'm proud of the work in Evergreen that both the village and that our schools have done.
There's more to it than that. I mean, what I'm saying is I can't tell you, we're going to redevelop a specific spot because it's not on the market or there's not, a business that is looking for that specific spot. It's going to happen. I mean, it's happened over the 23 years. It's going to happen. We need to be prepared for it. And, I think I would just reiterate, it's our residents' money, right? And I think the schools and the economic development and the strength of our neighborhoods all work in tandem, right? You can't have one without the other.
Definitely.
And so, trying to figure out how we can use this, to keep it as an economic development tool for the village, but to also recognize that there needs to be some shared resources, is my goal with putting forward this proposal. And I think, if we're looking for what our residents need, they need the whole thing. And so, trying to keep a focus on that. I have a particular focus, you have a particular focus, but I think we need to think about the whole picture.
Right, I'm very against renewing our TIF. I will go on record by saying that. I think that 23 years is a long time to help revitalize, and it's not that I don't think that we should still move forward. I think though that the EAV to be frozen still for another 12 years, that's a lot of captured money that you would put into that TIF that we also could use for our buildings, just like you said, like the shared vision. We have struggled over the years to maintain a really strong fiscal, our fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers, and at the same time, provide our staff with benefits and a comparable salary. And, when I look at this, there would be an increased benefit for us being able to support our needs too by not renewing this TIF.
Yeah, I would like to point out though, that it's not a one-to-one relationship, the money from the TIF.
Yeah.
If the TIF is extended, your state aid is going to go down, down, down. I don't know if you've done the calculations or looked at it, but
We have looked at it. I think that there is an unlikelihood that we would there's the potential for us to fall into a tier 3 setting. However, we don't anticipate at this time that would occur. And so I think in terms of, I do believe that the board really does want to come to an agreement with the village. We have a common understanding that we're all in this for the best of kids, teachers, and the community, and that there has to be a partnership. I think that there are really 3 functionalities that we're looking to accomplish, and that's to recruit and retain high-quality educators because they educate our children, to address safety because it is a hot topic right now, and to address the spacing needs that need to be addressed in Evergreen Park. And if I were to tally the number of schools in the south side that have mobile units, you would not find many. And we are having a significant amount of pressure from the Regional Office of Education at this time that's really saying we need to address it. And so I think in terms of coming to an agreement, we're happy to do so if we understand that these 3 target areas can be worked through together. So we are happy to do so.
This is my last board meeting, so I won't be speaking to this beyond right now, but I will say I am in support of a collaboration. I do think that we are in this together. I do think that your heart has
Yes.
always been to serve our district, and you have done so well. So I absolutely, as a member of this board and a previous employee and to the times I used to be on the floor volunteering in the classroom. So my heart is with District 124 and the needs of the students as well as what the teachers need. But I also know that, as you stated so eloquently, the citizens of our community also want to make sure that we have what we need for our community to thrive. So I don't think we cut off our nose to spite our face. I think there is a way for us to come together and to do this together in a way that it benefits all of us. I don't want it to just be one-sided. I think we all have to live here. We all have to look each other in the face. So I don't want this to be contentious.
I'm not trying to say that, and I don't mean, I love what we do in Evergreen. I like what our school district does, I like what our village does, but when we look at the financial responsibilities that we owe the taxpayers and what we owe our students here, I do feel that that's a huge commitment to our community to give up a lot of money that we could also use ourselves. We have what, 90 days of funds on hand? That's not being fiscally responsible, saying that we shouldn't consider the fact that our EAV then will be stuck for another 12 years with an agreement of some money coming back to us if we were to enter into the agreement suggested. That's still not capturing all the money that we would have if we didn't have it at all. And I feel like there has to be a little more give. I feel like it has to be a little more, and I don't know what the answer is, because like Claudia says, this is my last board meeting, but I do feel like the agreement that was set before us is not really something I felt like was.
If I could just interject one thing, your EAV is not frozen. I mean, as the village's EAV increases, especially for the things that are, because the bulk of your taxes aren't from the 95th Street tax district, and I think Vince has the percentage of taxes that come from the increment.
The bulk of the taxes you collect are from the Evergreen Plaza and from the shopping area where the old golf course used to be in that area. And the village never put any of that in a TIF district, okay?
Yeah,
And
right.
it well could have, because if there's anything that qualifies as blight, the Evergreen Park Mall Plaza was it, okay? And you go look at Dixie Square and go look at Lincoln Mall and see what happens when a commercial structure is abandoned by everyone, including the local municipality, which does nothing, okay? Evergreen Park stepped up and actually put $20 million of their guarantee to get the Evergreen Plaza rebuilt. Okay, no TIF district, not affecting your taxes at all. The same thing on the other side of the street. We had to give up a lot of our money, tax sharing, sales tax sharing, to do every development north of 95th Street. And it takes money money talks and money does things, okay? And we're talking about now is extending the life of 95th Street.
Yeah, and to the extent that those areas appreciate their EV rises, that's captured by all of us. It's just this part along 95th Street that is subject to it, and it's a single-digit percentage of the money from that increment is single-digit percentages of total tax.
The money from the increment is minor compared to what.
I know it's a lot. I know it's well, we're not saying it's not money in there, but in terms of our entire taxing base, it is a fairly small percentage.
Well, if it was not extended though, we'd almost get it says estimated roughly $1.2 million would result in the unused TIF surplus of the 2.9 that you currently have.
There may not be a surplus as we develop other projects, so I don't know.
That's not guaranteed.
That's not.
Right, but if you did not have any more.
You have to be looking forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it said like, and some of the things, well, it looks like it's estimated we would receive, if we accepted the offer, it's about 400,000 annually for 12 years. And I think that there has to be, I don't know, I feel like it should incrementally increase as you, that would be.
One thing you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to circle back to, is 12 years. Does it have to be, I know that that is typical, like it was the 23-year, like that, you know, decided on
Right.
elsewhere, but do we have to say, we're making a decision now for a board 12 years from now? That just seems, it seems very far away.
The
Is
state
there any
only,
way to
the
shorten
state
that?
only has originals of 23 years and extensions of 12 years.
So you,
That's
And
it.
Aries will go over options, like as a board, you can go in a process of an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement, where we would work through those particulars together.
And you only allow one extension, one
One
12-year
yep.
extension.
That is
So
done.
if we were to extend it for 12 years, that will be the end of the TIF.
There's no provision for it.
And just saying, I don't know if you've seen the map of the 95th Street TIF district, but it
Yes,
doesn't
we do.
include every, 95th Street is a kind of misnomer, and probably half of it is not in the TIF district.
Yeah, we saw it.
So did the previous TIF, was it for 23 years or was it 12 and?
23 is the initial length by statute, and then 12 is the extended.
And then Michael mentioned something in regards to this previous TIF having some remaining funds. I'm sure through the 23 years there aren't any funds, or are there?
There is some balance in there, but you know, that by the time it, you know, I don't know all the timelines, but there's quite a bit of time to,
Yeah, we
The
probably,
village
use
would
of
have
the
the
surplus,
option
of
to
course.
use that surplus prior to it extending.
Yeah.
If they choose to use that surplus, they can choose to do that. So that is not guaranteed funding.
we have projects going.
I'm
for-
sure you do.
I mean,
You should.
My next question.
I can point it, I can tell you.
we have some projects in the works for sure.
And do you have any projects for the next TIF if we were to?
Well, so this is what I was kind of saying to Kim, you know, Crystal, there's some things, so the answer is yes, there's some things we want to do, but also there's things that may come down the pike, opportunities, you know, businesses that are looking to locate in the area, and this, you know, but I don't know what's gonna happen over the next 12 years. We hope to have a lot of opportunities because we've had a lot of opportunities as we've built up, you know, the economic vitality of our village. But I can't tell you today in 2027, we're gonna do this, cause, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm kind of in favor of, I understand what Kim is saying in regards to the school district, our children, the teachers and the community. We need that funding. And the proposal that was given, just as of yesterday, I believe,
Yeah, it was history.
I was just wondering if we can kind of work through that and kind of see if we can do some changes so that our district can have an adequate amount of funding for the school. For the children, you know.
She wants to know if there's room for negotiating the deal that was on the table.
If there's room for negotiating.
I think we would do that in a separate.
Yeah, I think you do that in a,
Yes.
in a session.
Absolutely, but I was just wondering, could we? I mean,
It's a counter
Separate,
proposal.
a separate setting,
It
yes,
would
I
be,
think would be
yes.
appropriate.
it would be a counter proposal.
Yeah.
okay.
I know we're going to continue the TIF conversation,
I appreciate the
but
time,
we have you on this one.
and I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm checking in with everyone. Do we have anything more from Mayor Burke before we get to more information about TIF in general and also hear from Aries as well?
I really appreciate your time tonight.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
And I hope we
Really
can come
appreciate
to
it.
an agreement.
Yes, oh, definitely. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Yes. I think you have some slides for us too, and this is just general big picture understanding, so everyone is aware. So I'd like to introduce you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Dr. Woodland, and members of the board. Good to see everybody again. So I was at the meeting last month, and I updated the slides a little bit. So I don't know who's got the clicker. Would you mind going? So this is the geographical area of the TIF district. As Vince said, it doesn't go all the way to Western Avenue.
Yeah, correct.
And it does not include the Myers, that stuff on the north where the golf course was, or the revitalized mall. Next slide, please. Just some basic facts about the 95th Street TIF district. It was established in late November of 2000. Most recent year, so this is 21 taxes collected in 22. According to the county clerk, the total tax is about 1.96 million. If you look at total revenue to the village since inception, it's about 23 million and change. And then if you just extrapolate the 1.96, and I grew it at 1% a year, over the 12-year extension, it would be $27.3 million. So it'd be generating a significant amount of revenue for the village, more during the 12-year extension than during the original 23-year term. Next slide, please. And just thinking about what a TIF is, because it's a little hard to think about these things, but what a municipality does is it freezes the amount of EAV when the TIF was created. So on November 20th of 2000, that blue area was frozen. You're extending your tax rate against the base year EAV only.
EAV for the group, please.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah, sorry, EAV.
That's why he's here.
Equalized assessed valuation. It's
Thank you.
what the clerk applies a tax rate against to generate revenue for taxing districts in the state of Illinois.
Thank you so much.
So the incremental,
It's only frozen in the TIF district.
it's only frozen in the TIF area, that's correct. Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
needs to know that. Right.
So this yellow incremental EAV, and it's obviously never a smooth line, but over time, if a TIF is producing and economic development is happening, that incremental EAV, the incremental equalized assessed value grows. That is where the revenue is exclusively to the municipality, and that's what is used for these economic development incentives, and that's the 23 million that's been collected so far.
So
Next
can I
slide.
ask you something before, go back, so just say at zero, they were at 10,000. As it has grown up to, just say that the height of this yellow, this curve is 20,000. No matter what, we only captured the 10,000 because that's where it was frozen.
Right, yeah,
We
it's
being the
gonna be.
district.
We being the school district, I'm sorry, so like, just say zero was 10,000, the top of the bell curve is 20,000, right? We were frozen at 10,000, so for the last 23 years, no matter how much it has risen with that line that little dotted line, we are still only at the 10,000.
Yeah, Kim, the better way to think about it, that's generally accurate, but because tax rates fluctuate every year,
Sure.
what's frozen is EAV, the actual taxes collected might be higher one year, lower a little bit, depending
still
on
the
what the
same
rates are.
percentage.
It's the same percentage, yeah,
Yeah, in my
accurate.
mind, dollars is easier to understand, but okay,
Yeah, that's a
yes.
good way to simplify it. Yes. Next slide. How an extension works, generally speaking, it's been the practice of the General Assembly that municipality has to contact all members of the JRB. The General Assembly historically generally has not acted unless all JRB members agree in writing to the extension. General Assembly then passes a law, which is what Vince was talking about. TIF districts are then extended to a 35-year term, which is what the mayor was saying. And if you look at the TIF Act, by my count, there have been about 246 TIF district extensions from the beginning of time, keeping in mind that the TIF Act sort of came on the books in the late 80s, early 90s.
And JRB for the group.
JRB is a joint review board. It's a group of taxing bodies, includes the municipality, includes a public member. It's the schools, the library, park district. Sometimes there's a township, community college, folks like that, county. Next slide, please. So options, one option is just say no TIF district would end after 23 years in all likelihood. Incremental EAV becomes available to the district as new property under PTEL. New property is a good thing for taxing bodies in terms of, to Kim's point, giving you room to grow your tax base and either generate more revenue or just have a bigger tax base, which is always good. Any surplus in the TIF would then be distributed pro rata to all taxing bodies. District has no obligation to agree to the extension. Next option, negotiate an IGA with the village. This happens on a regular basis. Revenue sharing provision with guaranteed surplus payments or other things like capital development grants. Things that you'd probably want to see in there is that there be no TIF district over that same territory at the end of the 12-year period. No contiguous TIF districts that could result in porting or transferring of funds to a new TIF. And then another option, and these can all be blended together, would be the village would release some parcels from the existing TIF so that school districts would get some new property EAV while still allowing the TIF to function. And so there, you could do some hybrid approach here, where there was some revenue sharing, there were some parcels carved out to create new property to address Kim's concern, and some of the other bells and whistles you could put on these things. I've seen them many ways, Vince has done them many ways, so it's there's a lot of options here.
So is it an option? I know that Vince was saying, like, they only see 12 years. You can't go into an intergovernmental agreement saying for only the next 5 years we would do this, or?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example in that situation. So recently the village of Palatine did a 12-year extension, so they have a TIF in their suburban downtown where the metro station is, and there's restaurants and stuff like that. They wanted an extension, so the school districts there, Palatine 15, Township High School District 211, everybody went along, but what the village said is, hey, to make this happen, we're only gonna take revenue from the 12-year extension for 4 years. Beginning in year 5, we'll do 100% surplus. So that, again, is another variation on what you could do. I've not seen the General Assembly ever do an extension for less than 12 years. That my observation is that it's always, that's just the number, but there are things you can do, you know, maybe increase the amount of sharing over the 12-year period, maybe step it up so in the last few years it's 100% sharing. There's different bells and whistles that can be utilized to sort of reach a common goal in getting a deal done.
So would something like, okay, for the next 12 years, every year they're gonna release a certain percentage of the parcels out of the TIF?
That would be an option.
That would be an option
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
So like we could look at our highest taxing properties and say, we could spread them out or whatever, like, and slowly release them over the 12 years while still, doing some other assumptions with agreements with, the surplus.
Yeah, so Kim, that's always gonna be a balancing act, because when you release the parcels that have most of the EAV, those are the parcels that are generating most of the incremental revenue. So it's sort of like a balancing act. The more of those parcels you release, you leave less money that can be shared either via surplus declarations or by adding districts' properties in and doing these capital grants.
So intergovernmental agreement with us, we get it done, right? So does that mean that the rest of the other government agencies have to have the same? Cause it wouldn't seem advantageous to the village to entertain an intergovernmental agreement with us, and then the high school say, hey, I want one too, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the two school districts need to be aligned. The offer that's been made would apply to both school districts. And then with respect to the other public bodies, if an approved parcel is within the TIF district, these capital grant allocations can be done. If there's ever a surplus payment, that has to go out pro rata to everybody. So you can't say, hey, District 124, you get surplus, but everybody else doesn't. That's not an option. But if 124 has a property in the TIF and it's in need of repair, that's an eligible redevelopment project cost under the Act.
So then how come we would get a certain percentage and maybe in an intergovernmental agreement, and it doesn't have to be the same across the board for the other bodies?
Right, so I think there's factors you can look at. You can look at enrollment numbers, you can use sort of what is the standard for per capita tuition charges. You can look at other factors as long as there's property in the TIF area. If it's gonna be a surplus, those things are irrelevant. It's gotta be pro rata.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be equal, it has to be pro rata.
It has to be an eligible redevelopment project cost, so the types of things we're talking about would be those things. So
Okay.
the spending would be eligible and legitimate and permitted for the district's property and for the high school property. So again, there's a lot of I tried to simplify it with three.
I know, I'm
different
sorry, I'm getting into the weeds.
Can't simplify this,
points
yeah.
for each one, you know?
Yeah,
And then, is there a next slide? I don't recall. Okay, great.
Any other questions? All right.
So, as noted on the agenda, this is not an action item on this evening's agenda. The conversation absolutely was, but board action is not on the agenda regarding this. This has been information gathering, and I thank all of you very much for for being here. We will be following up soon with any more questions or a counter offer. I appreciate everyone's hard work with this, and I know that not one of us, any of us, are taking this lightly, and I absolutely appreciate that. And I do respect that we're on a schedule as well.
Yes.
So, I do. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time and for listening. So, do you want me to stay? I'm happy to. Okay.
It was heavy. How we doing?
so what is our next step? So we obviously have to talk about this and come to agreement, either an intergovernmental agreement, or we have to kind of decide if we're not interested in the intergovernmental agreement.
Yeah, I think that would be our next step is to determine, you were given a proposal and then Eric and I were busy crunching numbers because that's what we love to do. And so I'm going to be making a recommendation to the board on how we can come to what I think would be best for both us and the village.
Yeah, it's
Sooner
not that I
rather
don't
than
understand their point, but I'm very worried that there is no big foreseeable project that they need this 12 years money. And quite frankly, we have 12 years of projects right now today that we can give and we can list. And not only that, I'm sure our staff and facilities maintenance people could also give us a huge list for the next 12 years. So, yes, so I mean, look, we're all about having a beautiful flourishing village, but for 23 years they've captured this money. It is time for us now to enjoy the benefits of that what that money could do for our school and how it could help our teachers. And wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to go to the table in 3 years for negotiations and be like, our hands are tied behind our back because we've now committed to 12 years of giving money that could potentially have been for our school and for our students and for our teachers.
We sat at the table with
Yep.
our teachers.
I mean,
with
I've been in every negotiation for 12 years, and for 23 years, this TIF has certainly improved our village, but it is now time for us as a
Yeah.
board to really consider what's best for our kids and our staff and our school community. I am so against renewing this. I'm putting it on record. I can't say it enough. We need to let them now figure out how they're gonna budget their money to continue to keep it, just like we've had to for 23 years. Now it's their turn to kind of put it on their feet and figure out how they're going to budget their money to continue to keep our community thriving so that we can enjoy or be fiscally responsible. It is our responsibility to capture all of our funds for our kids. I just think it's so clear cut that we need to really strongly look at our values and look at our goals and our strategic plan. And it's always been to be fiscally responsible. And 23 years is, again, I'm just gonna say, a long time. And to commit to another 12 years, how do we look at our people and say that, well, we're gonna let the village have some of that money still, and we're gonna be the ones struggling. It's on our back. I don't know, that's just my.
Yeah.
You know, I could go on about this.
And
It's
that's,
time.
again, we don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
And I absolutely appreciate that.
And Eric and I have very creative solutions.
Yep.
Right, Eric?
Yes.
Well, and I think we have been creative. I think we have really tried our best. I mean, we are trying to be always fiscally responsible, and we understand that we are elected by the taxpayers, but I would be hard pressed to think that there's a parent out there that doesn't think it'd be a great idea to increase the revenue inside our schools to help our schools. I'm pretty sure they'd all like air-conditioned buildings.
That'd be good.
Thank you so much. Okay, so next we are going to move on to, you already retired, you guys. So we are moving on to curriculum administration.
You're still
Yeah,
here
you're still
until
here.
May 3rd.
In it
Nice
to win it.
try.
Hello.
Hi.
Talk curriculum.
Okay.
A little lighter.
A little lighter subject. We've been very, very busy. I'm super excited for tonight. We are coming to you with a recommendation for new EL programming for K-8. We started this process June of last year. Our ELA team began meeting, and similarly to what we did with math, we began looking with our priority standards, aligning those both vertically, horizontally across, making sure that all of our grade level teams at all of our buildings have the same priority standards picked out. We assessed our current programming, what was working, what was not working. There were definitely frustrations from teachers that we've heard since we started with some of the ELA programming. We reviewed many different programs, heard from content specialists, looked at several different ones, and came away with two, both at the K-5 level and at the 6-8 level that we wanted to pilot. Those were Amplify CKLA, Core Knowledge Language Arts, and Wonders. And at the middle school, it was HMH into Literature and McGraw-Hill's Study Sync. So we began that pilot process in the fall, looking at these key components. These were the things that we felt were most important. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, everything that we brought to the ELA committee to even consider, we made sure that they were highly rated on Ed Reports. Remember, that's a non-for-profit review system that looks at curriculums and rates them in text quality, usability, knowledge, and alignment. So we wanted to make sure that what we were bringing was all high quality materials. And then really the teachers are the boots on the ground for that. We wanted to give them then the freedom to be able to really look at what they were interested in piloting. So we began, next slide, we began in the fall. 9 elementary teachers volunteered to participate in piloting programs. These were representatives from all grade levels and across all buildings. I cannot thank them enough. We had 3 then from the middle school, also 1 from each grade level. It was a lot of work, and I can't thank them enough. They dove in, they received the training. They all have tons of materials that they cannot wait to get out of their classrooms now, all of the things that they've been using so far this year. They collected data, they learned new things, 9 weeks and then switched and did another new program the second 9 weeks, and that's just a lot. The core things that we really felt it was important for us to collect data on was priority standards alignment, wanting to make sure that these programs align to the standards that we had selected as priorities. Usability has to be usable. A teacher has to be able to use it with ease within the classroom. Differentiation to make sure that it's meeting the needs of all of our learners. Comprehensive programming. ELA encompasses a lot. The writing, the grammar, the spelling, the vocab, the phonics, everything. We wanted to make sure that we had a program that met all of those needs. Culturally responsive scorecard. So if you remember back to our equity action plan, we selected that scorecard as part of our plan under curriculum, and we wanted these pilot teachers to be using that scorecard as they were assessing the program. So we used that, and then we wanted to rate it for student engagement. Were students enjoying what they were learning, and then were they engaged in the process of reading? So at the elementary, at the conclusion of the pilots, we began to meet again with our ELA committee. So we first brought the pilot team back together and just kind of hashed it out, a long conversation on what they saw, what they felt. I did check in with them periodically throughout the pilot. We did midpoint check-ins for each one that we did, and then we did one at the conclusion of each pilot as well. So we brought the whole ELA committee back together, And we started just with chart paper on the wall and decided what would an ideal program look like in the area of usability? What would an ideal program look like in the area of differentiation and all of those key components? And then our pilot team really was able to speak to how each of these programs aligned with each of those components. I was so proud of our pilot teachers. They had definite opinions, but they were able to speak completely objectively. Without, I said, I don't want it to be this group is arguing for this group is arguing for that, and we're gonna fight it out. It really wasn't like that. They objectively spoke and shared the data, and that was fabulous. So our committee members then after that first meeting were tasked to go back to their buildings and have conversations with their fellow teachers about what they had learned. We wanted to make sure that, not everybody is on the ELA committee, and we want to make sure that everybody felt that they had an opportunity to ask questions, give their opinions, and we wanted those voices to be heard. So our final meeting was then held on Wednesday, April 5th. We had 20 members present at that meeting. They all shared their thoughts, and we worked to come to a consensus. Colleen is here. She was one of our pilot teachers, and she was also part of the process all the way through. It was not as hard as I felt. What did you think, Colleen?
To come to the consensus?
Yeah.
No, I think as Ashley said earlier, we were all very objective, and Ashley had said that, a consensus is not everybody's in full total agreement. I think we were able to, those of us who wanted a certain program, those of us who wanted others, we were trying to make each other feel comfortable with the other program, because we knew that whatever would be adopted would have to be implemented by everybody, not just whoever wanted to do it. And I think we managed to get everybody at least comfortable with the new curriculum and kind of being a leader in their buildings because they piloted it. And next year, they're gonna kind of have to be the teachers, to the teachers.
So we used a 5-3-1. So 5 being all in, this is the best thing ever, this is my favorite, I love it, support it. A 3 being, I have some reservations, but I'm completely willing and wanting to support this decision moving out of this room, and I will not inhibit it in any way. And then a 1 being, I have strong disagreements. So of the 20, we had 15 that were 5s for CKLA. You can move to the next one. 5s for CKLA. We had the other 5 people were 3s. 3 of those 3s favored CKLA, but recognized that it was going to be new, something to learn, had some reservations. 2 of the 3s were favored wonders, but were willing and understood the benefits of CKLA.
CKLA, the one that's more of the science of reading.
It is. Yes.
That's what I thought.
So
Thank you.
So why CKLA? These were some of the things actually that the teachers had written as definite pros for the program. There were many more, but the phonemic awareness and the foundational skills are embedded in part of this program. We recognize the need for our students to have definite, direct instruction, explicit instruction in phonics and in those foundational skills. And that is a definite strength of this program. The knowledge strand of it, so it really uses that rope when it shows the reading. You definitely have the knowledge, and then you also have the foundational skills, and that's what makes a strong reading program. So the knowledge strand of it is rigorous and it's interesting. I've told this story before, and it was funny. We did a learning walk. And in one of the learning walks, I was observing in a classroom and kind of picked up the book, and it was a 5th grade classroom, and picked up the book, and I looked through it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to be not enjoying this. It was all about like ancient civilizations or something, and I was like, this is terrible. And it was great conversation among the students though, but I was like, I just can't imagine that these 5th graders are loving this. And I was going to leave, and it was Lori Johnson's class at Northeast, and she's like, watch this. And she asked the students, which program were they enjoying? They we're loving it. I mean, absolutely loving it. It is very based in that content knowledge and building that content knowledge in those science and social studies streams that we are really recognizing that we're missing in a lot of our, we focus so heavily on reading and math. We need to embed that knowledge of science and social studies in that reading instruction. Rich vocabulary with engaging lessons. Like I said, the science and social studies connections, the student engagement. We had the students overwhelmingly, I think it was 85% overwhelmingly selected, our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students selected the CKLA over the Wonders. They love that science and social studies
So I'm
aspect.
so excited because when you brought this at the beginning of the year, I'm like, oh, I hope the teachers can capture the love. I was like, I know that they are going to love that science of reading more methodology because it really captures that phonemic awareness and that foundational skills. And we have a retired teacher from Southeast here who will tell you who had much success with that and who cranked out many students, right, Mrs. Irvin? She is retired from Southeast and she totally understands it, phonemic awareness, and it's kind of like it's a swung pendulum. Like we're going back to that teaching that foundational skills of sounding.
And California is doing that now. They have decided that the word method, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's right. So I am so excited that I said to her, they're gonna pick them. Did I not tell you?
It was interesting, and even for St. Colleen can kind of probably speak to this too. I know, looking back at my lab work that I did when I was learning to teach reading, it was not this.
No.
And our teachers who were teaching the skills portion of this and the phonics, they were learning how to and one of the teachers even said, Kelly Smith from Southwest said, I'm a better teacher having taught this because I understand how to teach reading better. So it was
very explicit and it's yes. I mean, like it's like that Haggerty founding. It's kind of like along the lines of that Haggerty phonics. I know that's like a pull-out program, but it just really, I'm so excited.
So that was part of it, just the alignment to the research and just really where we want to land philosophically as a district with that science of reading. So it was
so exciting.
It was, and I said to the team repeatedly, I said, I don't have a dog in this hunt. You guys are on the ground, you're teaching it every day. This choice needs to come from you, and it did, and that was really exciting. So that was elementary. At the middle school, it was interesting. We, as I said, looked into literature and Study Sync. They completed those 2 pilots and just were really frustrated. Not a fan of either one of them. There was functionality issues with some of the websites, and they were really frustrated with the lack of student engagement. They decided to try one more program, which was Springboard. We've really been intentional this year with our work with the high school and having articulation meetings. The ELA team comes over and meets with our teams once every 9 weeks, and Springboard is what they use at the high school. And initially, when we looked at programs, there were some concerns about it, and really the level of rigor was really intimidating to some of our teachers. But those conversations that they had throughout the fall with the high school gave them kind of, I think, the courage to pilot that. So we did, and thankfully the team was completely unanimous. What's that?
You threw the other 2 out and went straight for.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They were.
I mean, if it's not working and you know it, like why continue?
Well, they did the pilot and they did it with fidelity and everything, but just were not happy with it. So we decided to do a 3rd one after Christmas, and they were unanimous on what they decided. So the consensus was easy. I had the 6 ELA teachers and some special ed teachers in the room, and they all agreed that this one was by far the best. So they really appreciated the student engagement with it. There's an ebook that makes student.
I was gonna say, are these hard are these?
There are the book pieces as well. Some of the teachers were a big fan of the ebooks and being able to assign the work to read online. Some of them really like students reading out of the books, and I understand that as well. There's a lot of focus on critical analysis of text and writing. So as we move up in the grades, really that quality of text piece becomes so important, and allowing students to be able to interact with the text at a deeper level. So that was a piece of this. The embedded differentiation throughout made it a lot easier for teachers, particularly at the middle school. Sometimes that becomes a little bit more of a struggle, and it's definitely embedded in there. Necessary rigor, obviously, to prepare students for high school. We've really been working on increasing that rigor and increasing the expectations so that they're ready to go on to the high school, and this will really make that seamless for us. And one of the teachers said, I feel like I'm teaching again, and so I thought that was really.
Sounds like that was also an easy transition to follow along as far as like professional development, getting them ready to use this program.
Yes.
Must have been.
Yes. So
Can you speak briefly, because I unfortunately did not get back to one of my board members about a question about cohesive alignment between a K-8 setting,
Yes.
and do you have any concerns about that?
So I know that when we've talked about math, we've talked a lot about making sure that it is consistent K-8. ELA is a little bit different in the aspect of math is, a building block. Those skills are sequential and they build upon one another. ELA looks a little bit different, especially once you get past those fundamentals and students are decoding and they're reading. The skills are pretty similar. It's just how you're interacting with the text and the depth that you are able to go, making sure that you are able to do those similar skills on grade level text. So having the two different programs would not be as impactful as what it would be if you're talking about like a math curriculum or something like that, where that verbiage becomes so important in making sure you're teaching how to do those skills the same way.
And the
So.
concept too of like grade level text and that we're identifying these priority standards too, I think is really important.
Yes, absolutely. So we are asking the board to approve the adoption of the two new ELA curriculums, both at elementary and middle school. So that would be the Core Knowledge, Language, Arts, CKLA Amplify for K to 5 and Springboard for 6 to 8. So the teachers have been busy, and I have appreciated all of their hard work with it.
What's the rollout look like?
So we've kind of put in an extra PD day at the beginning of next year. So that would be dedicated to training, initial training. The training would obviously need to be ongoing throughout the year, and our instructional coaches would also help to support teachers in the classroom. I would love to get teacher materials to them before the end of this year so that they have them over the summer, and then we would roll out in the fall.
Do you have anybody from this organization that's gonna come and also help with the training?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they will come in and do in-person training with us on that day in the fall.
Yeah.
Very good. Yep.
And then what type of assessments will you be doing to know if this is working?
So we'll continue to use our STAR benchmark assessments, obviously, and then they have assessments that are also aligned with with both curriculums. We are working right now on our common assessments with math teachers. Worked on that actually yesterday, today, this morning. It's been a long day. This morning, teachers were working on some of those common assessments, making sure that they're aligned to our priority standards. So we'll probably do some of that work as well with the ELA once we're in.
And then one last question, so what is your window of time to be able to see a return on the investment?
Question.
I think generally when you're implementing something, you expect to see a little bit of a dip initially as people are getting their feet wet. We've noticed this year, pacing and things is always a little bit slow as you're rolling out, but I would say within the second to third year, we should see, I think even earlier than that. Colleen, did you have noticed even just using skills this year, what would you say about your students with phonics?
So the district uses Jolly Phonics currently, and so I wasn't using that. Jolly Phonics ends in like November, and then we do other things, but I'm still doing skills. We're still learning sounds. We're doing like silent E now in kindergarten, and they're getting really, really good at it. I would say 80 to 85% of my kids are reading fluently. And those who aren't are in, they're in intervention, they're getting the support they need, and they're doing well for where they should be.
What grade are you?
Kindergarten. It sounds nice.
Say that again, kindergarten.
I think we'll see impact in that area
Right.
quickly. I think, you know, the upper grades and the comprehension side of things, I think is gonna take a little bit longer. But I think that at the phonics level, and just by having that explicit phonics, and not only taught in kindergarten, right now that Jolly Phonics really is stopping there. And there's such a need for it to continue in first and second grade as well. So I think that the impact will be pretty quick, with those areas.
And Dr. Bannock, he shared this really great article that I keep referring to.
I love that. Do you want me to read that last quote? It's
I
fabulous.
do.
Okay.
I swear I read it, Matt. I know I didn't respond.
I printed it out.
Thank you for sending.
One of the things that really, I've been reading a lot about, especially when it comes to the sciences of reading, is really this idea of the knowledge gap. And when we talk about equity in education, we talk about that knowledge gap. And so much of a balanced literacy approach really talks about accessing prior knowledge or activating prior knowledge and doing all this work to activate prior knowledge, when really for so many of our kids we have to build it first. We can't activate it. So that really is one of the main focuses of a program like this. So it says knowledge may be a critical, largely unmeasured cognitive characteristic that may help explain the factors underlying achievement for students from all income levels, as well as accounting for current achievement score gaps between advantaged and disadvantaged students. Moreover, this study, so this was a study about this program.
CKLA, yeah.
Moreover, the study suggests that the level of general knowledge is malleable, and an intervention that increases general knowledge may increase achievement for all students from all family income groups, with much larger effects that eliminate achievement gaps for disadvantaged students. So by focusing in on just building that content knowledge for students, really can have a huge impact on reading comprehension overall. So, it's exciting.
I'm really excited. Our ELA students definitely need this
It's
boost.
gonna be a huge help, so,
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you,
for all your
Dr.
hard work,
Carlson.
and thanks to the teachers who, my gosh,
Yeah, piloted this,
my gosh.
especially at Central, nothing like one, two,
All right, now we have an update on from Spanish Club, Miss Lara. Thank you so much.
So we are in our second session of Spanish Club. Our classes are a little bit bigger this time around than last time, just because we have one less teacher. So our K through 2, one of the classes has 15 students, another one has 16, and then 10 and 11 for 3rd through 5th grade. So what we're doing right now are weather, seasons, and months of the year, and then activities and sports for those seasons. And then, so I have a 3-year plan kind of in motion that I'm working on. Basically, the reason that I have them grouped as K through 2nd is because the projects that we're doing, because we have native speakers and non-native speakers together, which is really great. But when we go to do projects or we're doing stuff, it has to be something that's interesting for kids that already know Spanish, and then also be accessible for kids that don't know Spanish. So as far as like dexterity and stuff like that, once you get like a kindergarten, I feel like 2nd grade is probably like the best that we can get. That's why some of the classes, like the 3rd through 5th grade classes, are a little bit smaller. But the 3-year plan basically is that we won't repeat any themes for the first 3 years, so that kids are grouped according to their age. So that way, let's say we're doing weather this year, we won't do it again for another 3 years. But by the time, so if we have someone who's been in the club the entire time, once they're in kindergarten, by the time they get to repeat that theme, they'll already have they'll repeat the theme, but they'll have different activities to do. So that way, it's designed for any level speakers, so kids can jump in whenever, which is nice. And so I'm getting it all together in like a Google Doc with all the worksheets and everything, so that hopefully at some point I can hand it over to somebody else, and then it can continue.
How many participants do you have?
I couldn't do the math in my head right now, but whatever 10 plus 11 plus 16.
On that one slide.
That adds up to.
Yeah, you've got a good.
Those are some nice classes, besides for the clubs, or,
And what I really love about it is it brings together all 4 of our elementary buildings. So I really appreciate that opportunity to explore it with all 4 buildings as opposed to just one.
Yeah, so we will be going to other buildings in the future.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you have parent volunteers as well?
We do, so the teachers are all parent volunteers, so if anyone wants to teach, we're always looking for teachers.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
That's really our biggest obstacle is not enough teachers, which I'm sure you guys understand.
we've never heard that before.
Tap on BPAC.
Well, thank you, that's awesome.
Is that the last one? Oh, so BPAC was able to raise almost $5,000 this year, just by some of the different, we had a loteria night at Christmas time, and then our Spanish club is the biggest fundraiser, thankfully. We do still charge for Spanish club just because, basically, if we had to pay someone to be there, the moderator right now, Mr. Martinez is our moderator, and lucky him, he's on salary, so he can't accept to pay for that. But for us, it's been really great because the money that we were allocating for having to pay a moderator, we get to keep all of that funds, so.
How
that's
much
been
does it cost to participate?
It is $40 for 8 weeks, so it's $5 a class.
Okay. So then is there an opportunity maybe, like how do participants or potential participants find out about the club? Is it just through email?
They should get an email and a flyer home, and then there's usually I think this past time, Mr. Martinez sent out a text message, like, don't forget to put your permission slips in, so.
So
Yes,
then
we've gotten
maybe you
those.
can
Yeah.
maybe you can put some type of verbiage on that, if there is any parent or household that would be interested in sponsoring someone,
Yeah.
that way, if there are families out there that wanna participate, but they aren't able to due to other financial obligations, there could be various people out there that would say, I'll pay $40 for this child to be able to participate.
Good idea.
And with our funds, we were able to do a PBIS paletas activity, which also was really great that Mr. Martinez had. That was his idea. They usually do like an ice cream social, and this time they did a little bit more of a cultural social, which was really great. So paletas, if you're not familiar with them, they have the little carts. They're like the Mexican popsicles, and then they have the bells on them. So Mr. Martinez made that cart, and we went around northeast, and they also they got a bilingual book that the teachers read to them, and they had to do like a bilingual activity. So that was really great. And then we went and passed them out, and then we just like asked kids like, ¿qué sabor quieres? You know, like what flavor do you want? And so then the kids would interact with us, and it was really cool to see because some of the kids, especially in the older grades that aren't necessarily in like the TPE program, they could talk to us and they would just come up to us and say, oh, yo quiero fresa, like I want the strawberry one. So the other kids that don't speak Spanish were like, hey, how do you say it? So it was,
The whole point, right?
yeah, it was great. It was really great.
That's awesome.
And there will be one on Friday at Northwest. So they're doing this evening.
Awesome. Create that sponsorship button.
So the future goals, we've had a lot of people ask if it would be possible to have it, like every session, have it at their school. So like have it maybe like Mondays it's at Northeast, Tuesdays it's at Northwest. Maybe someday in the future, that would be great. We just need more teachers.
That's awesome, thank you, that's a great program.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so
Good
much.
job.
Yes,
So
thank you.
much.
Great. Next up, student support services. I know what Becky's gonna say. I'm so sorry. I have to run to the bathroom, guys.
Do you want us to continue?
Yes, please do. I know
Okay.
exactly what you're gonna talk about.
So we are going to talk about our comprehensive approach to tiered behaviors, our response to student behaviors. So I just want to preference that, this was based on building and district leadership feedback feedback from building and district leaders, union leadership, our social work team, and then the hard work of the administrative team, building and assistant principals. So just to kind of go over, I think it's important to know like why, our district commitments, so prioritizing our wellness of all of our children, our educators and providers, educating our stakeholders on trauma-informed practices, identifying students' disparities with a lens of equity aligned to our district DEI initiatives, reviewing and revising our PBIS practices to ensure that the district, they're aligned to the entire district, developing an integrated systems framework, so that's our district and community leadership team, all the work that we've been doing on our social, emotional, and mental health, and then really using database decisions to promote equitable implementation and outcomes. So it's also important to know that, you know, we're aligning this to, you know, our high quality tier 1 instructional framework. So we're looking at our classroom environment and then also our classroom culture. It's why these things are so important. Just to kind of review our PBIS model, we have our tier 1, which is our universal. You can skip to the next slide, Dean, because I'm just gonna kind of go over all of this. So our tier 1 PBIS model, so this is where we're looking at, this is our universal model. We're looking at all 80 to 90% of our students falling within this category. So looking at our establishing and teaching all of our students, behavior expectations. This is where our SEL curriculum comes in. Our K through 5, we're using the second step, so we're teaching them the skills for learning, which includes the coping, self-regulation, problem solving, piloting something different at the middle school in regards to that SEL, still a work in progress, and we're still looking at that. So then we have our tier 2 PBIS, which is our targeted interventions. So what we kind of did is, you know, coming together as an admin team and looking at what we have across the district. Obviously, we know that all of our schools look a little different, but again, we're trying to kind of streamline that process. Typically, 10 to 15% of our students might fall into this targeted category. We have lots of different things across the district. There's some consistency in our like requests for assistance forms. We have a new SSIS survey that our teachers complete twice a year, looking at some of those externalizing, but more importantly, some of those internalizing behaviors. So we might be identifying students that way. And then we have some, you know, different interventions in regards to tier 2. So our Chico, our check in and check out, some restorative teaching. We have some mentor groups, our SAG groups, which is our social academic instructional groups. We're also looking at building in some of interventions for attendance and how we can, you know, look at supporting students and families who might be having, you know, chronic absenteeism or chronic truancy and things like that. Obviously, we know that impacts instruction. And then we also have some direct social work or kind of simple behavior plans at this tier 2 level. And tier 3 is our most intensive support. So we're typically looking at, you know, 1 to 5% of our students. Again, looks a little bit different in regards, some of the same interventions, it's just more intense than a typical tier 2 student. So again, we're looking at our check in and check out, our requests for assistance. We're looking at some more in-depth and complex behavior plans, direct social work, our RAP services. You know, that's where we're bringing in our district community leadership teams, the Center for Self-Actualization, utilizing those mental health supports, our community resources, really trying to build some capacity and resources in that level as well. Again, I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We've really seen an increase in our families kind of reaching out to us for different supports and services. So building our resources that we can access and provide for families. And then I forgot to put the title on this one, but just our overview of our crisis response team. So we obviously have building level and then we have district level. So, you know, at the building level, all buildings have a crisis response team that are CPI trained in, you know, de-escalation and for any students that are demonstrating harm to themselves and potentially others. We're fortunate to have a CPI trainer in district, shout out to Megan Lack. So it's really helpful in regards to when we have staff coming in mid-year that we might need to train as well. So, and then obviously crisis response, students with behavior plans, making sure that the fidelity of those plans are in place. And then at the district level, we've kind of established some, you know, response teams, how they can access some intensive interventions, referrals from the district, kind of, you know, if they need those wrap service, then accessing some of those supports that we're trying to branch out to the buildings, but shore up in regards to making sure that everybody across the district has access to those.
Can I ask you about
Sure.
about tier 3? So tier 3 is your high level needs students. At what point, like how long do you typically expect them to be at the tier 3 before you start moving into another?
So one of the things that we're doing is typically every 6 weeks, sometimes monthly, we're looking at all that data. So even our tier 2 teams, PBIS teams, and then our tier 3 teams are looking at the data through the interventions and determining whether or not those interventions are working before they would move to and from a different level. So for example, you know, students on check-in and check-out at tier 2, maybe the 6 weeks they're checking in, their data is indicating that they're improving on those skills. They might keep them for 6 more weeks, look at it again if they're improving, and then it might put them back into tier 1, so they may not
Right, the goal is to get them down back
Right.
to tier 1, but I just feel like if tier 3, like, I feel like we hear a lot of frustration that like maybe sometimes they're hanging out in tier 3 too long. Is that due because like the next steps is definitely a process, working with the parents to figure out what the...
Not necessarily,
I think Becky talks a lot about fidelity of the intervention process. So if you wanna speak to that too.
Yeah, so when you're looking at like data, you're always looking at, you know, what, you're trying to identify what the problem is and what the student might need. So if something isn't working, it's not always necessarily that the intervention isn't working, it might be the wrong intervention, might be the fidelity of the intervention. So you really have to dive into that before you could potentially change something, which might keep a student in tier 3 longer.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that we're trying to kind of shore up what those practices look like as well in regards to fidelity of programs, making sure, you know, part of it is coming up with like a comprehensive list of interventions and really kind of getting to the root of defining the problems. We make sure that that intervention matches.
It, okay.
And I think that we're doing, that's a lot of work that we're doing.
Right, it's just that tier level, at 3.
Right.
That's high needs, right, I mean, and right, like at what point, like you've tried this intervention, now you try another intervention.
I mean, I don't think it's as cut and dry,
Right,
because we definitely, I mean, I think that in each building too, some of those are tier 3 students that might have a complex behavior plan are already identified.
Gotcha.
You know, one of the things that we're always talking about is like, you know, our least restrictive environment and what we have to do. Just because they have a behavior plan doesn't mean you still have to review that plan and make sure that you're going over all of that information, or sometimes the behavior is different, so, you know,
Right.
adding another piece to that plan as well.
You got one under control, then there goes another.
Right.
I think the point is like always looking at the data and the fidelity of things to kind of make those good database decisions.
Speaking of the data, like, you know, previously we had Patty Johnson in this role, and it was specifically, she was driving the entire PBIS initiative. And she was the one that was collecting that data and then disseminating that data. We were having committees about it. So is there one person that is collecting this data to make sure that it looks the same across the entire district?
Each building has a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 team. And I think what we've done this year and like this work is really come together as an admin team to look at, okay, what is your tier 1 team looking at? What kind of data are they looking at? What is your tier 2 team looking at? What is your tier 3 team looking
Is
at?
all of the data being collected the same?
Well, that's a good question, and that is kind of what we've worked on as an admin team. All the data is being collected the same. I think that prioritizing and identifying like fidelity of how often, fidelity of interventions, all of that we're kind of streamlining. There's no one person, each building is doing it, and then we're kind of coming back, I think, at our building leaders and kind of looking at our data and like where it's missing at each school or what we need to be doing.
Well, I know there's not one person now, that's what we had previously. I'm just wanting to make sure that there's continuity in what's being collected so that when we're evaluating what Johnny looks like versus Sarah, it's the same information that we're gathering.
There is continuity in what we're doing, and I think our district leadership team, or district community leadership team, these are some of the pieces that we're looking at as well, where all of our principals are sitting on and are sitting on those teams, as well as myself and the district case manager. So we're kind of talking about all of our data as well, what data we're looking at, what data we need to be looking at, like our SSIS data, our PBIS data, which is our referral data.
So it sounds like you're kind of still formulating specifically exactly what.
We're trying to make sure that we're all looking at the same data.
Correct.
Effectively.
Right, because otherwise it's not gonna match.
Exactly, and I think it's really important for us to recognize that we have 4 elementary buildings that feed into 1 middle school.
Correct.
So it's creating those cohesive programs, and we've really charged our building principals with assessing that to ensure that they understand why that continuity is so important.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh. You can flip, Dan. So just some things for the upcoming year, like, that are important. Obviously, we know we added the behavior intervention specialist. So some of the things that we feel like we need to kind of keep moving this work forward and assisting, behavior intervention specialist, our district case manager, that can kind of support some of that SEL, social emotional learning, and especially with our students with IEPs and goal writing, participating in those tier meetings, to kind of keep that consistency and that continuity, and then filling our all 3 of our school psychology positions. And then in regards to professional development, we've already done a lot this year. Our annual trainings for PBIS, we've kind of added our internal needs assessment is kind of the work that we've been doing, which is what I just talked about. Our district community leadership team has kind of done the same work in identifying all the resources that we have, so we know moving forward what we need. We're gonna continue that like staff behavioral professional development, the trauma-informed, shifting it next year to more like job embedded. That was really important when we met with our social workers, what supports and what professional development they need. And one of the things that came out of that was more training and functional behavior analysis and writing good behavior intervention plans, which I think are staff behavior intervention specialist and case manager will support as well. So that's moving forward. Busy.
So today, I happened to be walking out of district office and I saw Grace, who is our new behavior specialist. And I was like, Grace, where were you at? She was at Southeast, working with a student. They're both nodding. I see Kathleen Casper's nodding in the back. And I said, she said, yes, I was working with this student, and guess what? I'm gonna go back for the next 4 days, 5 days?
No, a couple days, she said.
To model how to work with the behavior strategies that she just taught the teacher today. So it's like this concept, I'm looking at Julie O'Connor now, everything that happened in dirt coming to fruition. And I'm so excited to see Grace. And she was working with a student today, and she's gonna be in that classroom for the next 4 days cohesively to ensure
Haley's
that.
glad this is video, cause she's gonna make sure she's there for
Yeah,
mornings.
she is.
Haley is for sure. Yes, but I was very excited to hear
Yes.
that. All came to fruition.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Look at her run.
All right, thank you. All right, Eric.
We've heard money this evening, but we have not yet heard from Mr. Grossi. We've heard a lot of money this evening, so.
Statement of expenditures, last month was a little unique as there was 3 payrolls in the month. There's 2 months in the year, we have 3 payrolls, so expenditures went up a little bit larger than normal, but nothing crazy from the prior month. Revenue wise, we received a large tax payment in March, around $4.2 million of taxes, and so our revenues went up a good amount from the prior month as well. Even though we had those 3 payrolls, the tax revenue that we received kind of outweighed it, so as a result, our fund balance went up in March as well. Extended day fees, there will be no change to extended day fees for the 2023-24 school year.
That's great.
Woo-hoo.
I was already like.
I would have given you a heads up if I was raising it like significantly.
We still are offering fixed and flex daily rates. Middle school still does not have after-school care. And,
They have morning care though, right?
They have morning care, yes, they do. And the celebration is we are breaking even with extended day, right, Eric?
Excellent, that's awesome.
We'll stick the whole time.
Yep. And we are now doing it.
Yes,
Well, great news for my last meeting.
look at that.
All that discussion last year about extended day, we worked really hard to make sure that we could still afford to offer that parents a great
It's
option
really important for our community.
Yes, it's a great tool for the parents to use, working parents, so great.
And our staff for extended day, that Liz Lopez, she's just fabulous, and all of our staff members, so I'm so appreciative of them.
That's awesome.
Hi, does he need to get in?
No, he keeps going back and
Okay.
forth. So
All right, any questions for
Excellent.
Eric?
No, very
Good
excited
news.
about extended day. There was so much discussion last year about it, so this is really great, yeah. Thank
Just
you,
for
Eric.
you, for your last board meeting.
Like, woohoo. Well, I mean, last year, I just remember we had so much discussion about how this was, how we were gonna get out of it and how to make sure we're not losing money. Excellent.
Okay. We have many public comments this evening. That is great. But y'all have to hear my words when I say we have to stick with our 3 minutes this evening. With a caveat, because I know that there are also some translations to be happening during public comments. And if that's the case, we will allow a little bit of time because that's only makes sense that way. Right, yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna read my usual. So a few reminders specifically about the logistics of the public comment portion for every meeting, including this evening. As is posted on our agenda publicly for every meeting, and as I have repeated at every meeting, to respect all of our stakeholders, our commenters, our board, our public, we adhere very closely to the 3-minute limit for comments for everyone. And I'm looking to this table here because there will be the timer behind me and I will not be watching it, right? So, we will set a timer and we expect everyone to respect their 3 minutes. In addition, we do not respond to public comments at board meetings, but we absolutely hear them. We respect, we listen to, and we take into account all of the community members' concerns. And if there's a specific question that comes up that we can respond to after the meeting, we will do so in a timely manner. So, thank you. Okay.
Just go in order.
Well, the one that's on top is Julie O'Connor for regarding the TIF district. And apparently
We're just
Ellie and
attempting
Leslie
with
as well.
her.
Okay, you don't get 9 minutes now. It's sometimes people ask, I gotta ask. No, please, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Intend on saying anything, but after sitting back here,
I am the vice president of the union, and I wanted to come up here and thank the board, especially Kim, for acknowledging the importance of securing the resources for the high quality and retaining the high quality staff that we have, as well as creating a safe environment for on campus for our students. So while an amicable agreement would obviously be ideal, it sounds like their plans are a little ambiguous as to knowing that the district knows exactly what we need to do. And having been here longer than the TIF was in existence, I have a broad scope of how hard that is to get that done. So since there isn't those unlimited funds, we believe, and I think I'm speaking for our union, our teachers, and obviously the education, the environment of our students here in Evergreen Park is top priority. And we very much thank you for acknowledging that and sticking up for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. I have a Glenda Fernandez, and I believe that's one of our translation people. Glenda Fernandez?
I think they left.
It's been a long meeting.
I know, and that baby out there's been so patient.
It's very.
We can
I
hide
think
inside
so.
and come back.
That's
to
true.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a Michaela Galvin. Michaela? No? I have Maribel Sacco. Thank you. Did I pronounce the last name too? Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, so hi, my name is Maribel Zacco. I'm a mother of a kindergartner at Northeast Jacob. We recently moved to Evergreen Park from Chicago. At the time, we loved everything about Evergreen Park, and we were sure that it was the right fit for our family. I decided, hold on. I am a first generation Mexican American, and Spanish is my first language. So it is very important to teach my son Spanish. We were in Chicago, and he was attending a dual language school. He attended that dual language school for 2 years, and I noticed so much improvement in his development of speaking English and Spanish, and I was so eager and to see his development and the language and everything. When we started the enrollment process here in Evergreen Park, I was informed that a dual language option was not an option here in Evergreen Park, and it was very disappointing because I thought about the future of my son. Like his grandparents do not speak English, and it's part of our culture. So I was very concerned. I spoke to Mr. Martinez. He explained to me the different programs that there are. And unfortunately, right now, the dual language program is not an option, only the TBE program. So after starting the enrollment process for kindergarten, they assessed him because it's part of the process. They informed me that he did not qualify because he was too proficient in English, which was very unfortunate, but because the reason why he was so proficient in English and Spanish is because of the dual language program that he was in CPS. So then after, now he's in kindergarten, finishing up his first year. I love the school, but again, like the language part is a big part of like the culture, and I'm noticing that his Spanish skills are not where it was last year. So now I'm considering it's unfortunate that now I'm thinking, is Evergreen Park even, an option for my family because of the limitations that they're putting on the Spanish-speaking families, and there's so many Spanish-speaking families in Evergreen Park. Then now I'm thinking, is Oakland maybe another option that does offer dual language, or should I go back to Chicago where there's so many more dual language schools? Or like a private school. I know there's one in Chicago that's also dual language, but it's also, financially going to be a burden for me. So it's like, why do I have to go out of my way when I love Evergreen Park and I think it's a great community, and I wish they offered more opportunities to Spanish-speaking families. So I just wanted to share my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Salgado.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marilo Salgado. I am the mother of a little girl who is in, first grade. Like I said, I am here as the parent of a second generation Mexican American child. I am here because I want the board to know and understand how important it is to me and my family that my child not lose the ability to speak and understand Spanish. It is the language that she just has to know in order to communicate with many of her family members, including her last two remaining grandparents. It is because of being in a school that focuses solely on English instruction that she is losing what little Spanish she had as a foundation. When my daughter started her schooling with the district, she tested out of any program that would have included Spanish language instruction. My wish and hope is that in a not too distant future, Spanish instruction will be offered to all students, not just those from homes like mine. I was fortunate enough to have had Spanish instruction when I was in school. I received Spanish instruction from kindergarten through second grade, with that last year being half English and half Spanish instruction. My dream would be a dual language program in this school district, as there are so many benefits to being a bilingual speaker. We have time to do that for my son, who will be in kindergarten in 5 years. I am beyond thankful that we now have a Spanish club. Thank you, Meg and Mr. Martinez, for your time. That has actually reignited my daughter's interest in Spanish. I see a lot of interest from other families and students in Spanish clubs. So I hope that that is a little push for the board to look into these possibilities for us. Having said all of this, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I hope that you think about it for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Taking lots of notes tonight.
Meg Lara.
I was so excited to hear and see the district's excitement about the possibility of sending children to France and the possibility of learning French. It got me thinking, how could we do something similar here in Evergreen Park with our already organic bilingual population? And I thought, what about a one-way dual language program? We currently have a TBE program, which stands for Transitional Bilingual Education. However, this program focuses on English proficiency, not on bilingualism or heritage language maintenance. Language loss inhibits children from open lines of communication with their own grandparents, aunts and uncles, and even parents. I know what you're thinking, there's no way we could staff a TBE program and a one-way dual language program, since we are required to provide TBE services. I talked to the multilingual department at the Illinois State Board of Education, and good news, one-way dual language falls under the category of TBE. As long as you allow children to exit the program once they reach a 3.5 or higher on their access test, you are in compliance for offering TBE services. I know what you're thinking, we would have to hire bilingual teachers for all of our specials. This is not true. You only have to provide bilingual instruction for the core classes, which you already do. I know what you're thinking. We will have too many students interested in the program, that we won't have enough space. Students still must qualify for the program in the same way they qualify for TBE services. The difference being they will be allowed to stay in the program once no longer considered EL students. This would be especially beneficial to the district, given that by law, when more than 20 students of the same language testing below 3.5 are required to provide a full-time TBE program, and we have been dancing with that line in our 4th and 5th grade classes. This would allow you to have more students in those classes taking full advantage of those teachers' skills. The district would have to come up with a way to measure the children's Spanish. ISB requires you to have a system in place for Spanish language measuring. However, there is no statewide measure, such as the access test, so the district would have to create one. However, I reached out to the dual language coordinator, Miss Leggett, for District 126, and she is willing to share about their process and their assessment through Benchmark Adelante. What better way to promote diversity and inclusion than to allow students access to their own culture? I would also like to request that this be addressed at the next board meeting. I may have been the one to ask the question, but the response is important to many families.
Do you have your type 75?
Pardon?
Do you have your type 75?
I have a baby.
I've asked her to be a teacher, Claudia, too.
She's right there. She's going to be the mayor somewhere.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you so much. I have Reina Flores. Oh, great, thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Reina Flores. He estado aquí en la comunidad por 9 años ya.
Good evening, my name is Reina Flores and I've been here in this community for 9 years now.
Tengo 3 hijos y los 3 han asistido a Northeast.
I have 3 children and they've all attended Northeast.
Y ninguno ha calificado para el programa bilingüe.
None of them have qualified for the TV program at Northeast.
Y me siento muy frustrada y triste porque yo no hablo inglés.
She's very frustrated because she doesn't speak English.
Y aquí tengo algunas razones por qué el aprender español es bueno para los niños. Aprender español
And
puede
I have
ser...
some reasons here as to why our children should be learning Spanish in the classrooms.
Aprender español puede ser beneficioso para los niños de 5 a 10 años de muchas maneras. Aquí hay algunas razones de por qué.
Learning Spanish is beneficial for children. Here are some reasons why.
Conciencia cultural. Aprender español puede ayudar a los niños a desarrollar una apreciación y comprensión de las diferentes culturas.
Cultural competence and just understanding their own culture and the cultures of other people is important.
Puede exponerlos a nuevas ideas, costumbres y tradiciones que tal vez no hayan encontrado antes.
This type of program could expose students to other cultures and languages that they never have been exposed to before or otherwise.
Habilidades cognitivas mejoradas.
It would improve cognitive abilities.
Los estudios han demostrado que aprender un segundo idioma puede mejorar las habilidades cognitivas,
Learning a second language can improve cognitive abilities.
como la resolución de problemas, la creatividad y el pensamiento crítico. También puede mejorar la memoria, la concentración y la flexibilidad mental.
A few things that could be improved are critical thinking, creativity, and memory.
Mejorar el desarrollo académico, mejor desarrollo académico, perdón.
It improves academic development.
Los niños que aprenden un segundo idioma a menudo desempeñan mejor en la escuela.
Students who learn a second language do better in school generally.
Tienden a tener habilidades de lectura y escritura más sólidos,
Students tend to have higher scores in terms of their literature and their
así como puntajes más altos de pruebas estandarizadas.
students have higher standardized test scores when they're exposed to a second language.
Mayores oportunidades profesionales.
Improved opportunities in professional work later in life.
En la economía global actual,
In the global economy and
saber un segundo idioma puede ser una ventaja en el mercado laboral.
in the labor market, learning a second language can be a great benefit.
Los empleadores valoran a empleados bilingües y poder comunicarse con clientes o colegas que hablan español puede abrir nuevas oportunidades profesionales.
Employers appreciate bilingual staff members because they're able to communicate with more employees and more people that they interact with at work.
Habilidades de comunicación mejoradas. Aprender español puede ayudar a los niños a desarrollar mejores habilidades de comunicación.
Learning Spanish would help our children improve their ability to communicate with one another.
Tanto como en español como en la lengua materna.
Spanish is their native language.
También puede aumentar la confianza y autoestima.
It will also improve their confidence.
En general, aprender español puede ser una experiencia valiosa y gratificante para los niños de 5 y 10 años.
For children aged 5 to 10, this can be something that's very gratifying to the children.
Puede ayudarlos a desarrollar importantes habilidades cognitivas sociales, así como prepararlos para el éxito en la escuela y más allá.
It could help students be prepared for success in the school system and beyond.
Para mí, mi hijo, el más pequeño, está ya en quinto, so ya se va a ir a Central.
Her youngest child is now in 5th grade and moving working on the Central Middle School.
El hecho de que yo estoy aquí presente es para que los niños del futuro tengan mejor oportunidad o se haga un programa bilingüe donde incluyan a niños que no hablan español, pero con los que sí, y hagan un programa dual.
She's not so much advocating for her own children that are now older and two have graduated and one is moving to middle school, but for future children that are going to go through the school system.
Porque me da mucha tristeza que mis propios hijos no se pueden comunicar ya casi ni conmigo por el barrera del idioma.
It brings her great sadness that she can't communicate with her own children because their preferred language is English and hers is Spanish.
Y mucho menos, yo entiendo un poquito de español, pero mis papás no.
Her parents have even less mastery of English than she does, and they struggle even more to communicate with her children.
So, muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Thank you and good night.
Yes, thank you, Claudia. Miss J-A-C-K, Jack, Miss Jack, starts with a J, Miss J.
So that was me, I'm allowing my colleague time to speak, just in case she didn't run out of time to speak, so I'm just allowing her to speak.
That's not policy, but I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Monique Richardson?
Good evening, my name is Monique Richardson, and I have served as a veteran bilingual speech-language pathologist for public schools across the Chicagoland area for the past 22 years. For the last 7 of these years, I have worked as an independent contractor with District 124, based primarily at Central Middle School, while also providing bilingual screening and diagnostic services and support across the elementary schools. While my overall experience within the district has had its fair share of trials and tribulations, no year has been more tumultuous for me than this one. Because of the extreme oppression, harassment, bullying, and absence of support I have endured, coupled with the alarming number of African American professionals I have witnessed take leave of the district, it is imperative that I make a statement and leave a public record of what has happened to me, with the slightest hope that I can somehow affect and impact for meaningful change. Since the top of the year, the district has been steadfast in its implementation of an extensive diversity, equity, and inclusivity initiative. And while highly informed and comprehensive, it proves a stark contrast to my personal work experience, especially since the start of this school year. In my 7 years of employ at Central, I have worked under the leadership of 5 different principals, so needless to say, I am no stranger to change. In October, a highly disturbing interaction occurred wherein I was accosted by a colleague, approached aggressively and wrongfully and adamantly accused of having missed a group session. Unsettled and uneasy, I shifted my entire method of service delivery from push-in to pull-out model for the students in that program because of how unsafe I felt. Nevertheless, I did not immediately report the incident until I realized, after the colleague continued to microaggress against me, the urgent need for me to document what was continuing to occur. Most alarmingly, the teacher neglected to inform me of the high-risk circumstance involving 2 students who, per direct parental request to the teacher, district case manager, and director of student support services, were not to be paired together. The withholding of this highly pertinent information resulted in an extremely perilous instance of the one student nearly substantially causing physical harm to the other with a stapler. Because of the gravity of this incident and the threat it directly posed to the safety of the students and myself, I made my first ever attempt to self-advocate, documenting the incident via email and copying the building principal, director of student support services, director of human resources, and the superintendent on the correspondence that I sent to the teacher. Imagine my utter shock and despondency that, in spite of having expressly conveyed my extreme discomfort and unease, that I literally felt unsafe in my day-to-day work environment. I received a mere reply from the Director of Student Support Services, which proved to be a measure of diversion, ultimately leading to nowhere, as my originally scheduled appointment was inexplicably canceled and minimal to no attempt was made for follow-up or resolution. With the timing leading us right up to Thanksgiving break, the administration
talking about feeling unheard as a Black woman.
And I understand that, and we all have a myriad of things to discuss this
Well, if
evening.
you understand that, why don't you let her finish speaking?
We won't let anyone go beyond 3 minutes.
And that means you don't
But
care what
thank
she has to say.
Of course I do, but we need to adhere to the 3 minutes. And we will absolutely follow up, as I explained at the beginning. Thank you so much. Nilda Ramirez?
Well, hello everyone. So I just want to touch on the TPE program. I have 2 boys in the district. One of my sons that's in the preschool program. He was screened earlier this year and he was deemed eligible for services. But seeing as there is no bilingual classroom for preschool, he was just in the preschool program. So when he started preschool, he was full Spanish. Despite his speech delay, he was just his primary language was Spanish. And of course it's important for him to learn English, of course it is, but I also want him to retain his Spanish. So now that he's been in the program much longer, having English at every corner, it's really hard, even if he's only in there for 2.5 hours, it's hard not to have his preferred language as English. So just to be completely transparent, we did decline the TPI services because if he's already fully immersed in English, then I don't need somebody else coming in there and teaching him more English. What I want is for him to be bilingual. Both of my kids, I want both of them to be bilingual. He is going to be screened soon. Thank you so much, Mr. Martinez, for accommodating me. He will be screened soon, and now my husband and I will be faced with a decision on whether or not to put him, if he is eligible for the program, with a decision of putting him in a program that will phase out his language, our Spanish, right? So it's not about like pushing away English, it's not. Many of us in this room have lost languages through generations, right? Like for instance, my great-grandparents on my father's side are from Portugal. I speak no Portuguese. My great-grandparents on my mom's side are a lovely mixture of like indigenous Mexican with Spanish and I don't speak the indigenous Mexican language. I only speak Spanish. So we're losing languages. There's a saying that we use for children that are as brown as me but speak no Spanish. And it's neither English or Spanish, it's just no sabo. I know many, and it just describes children that don't speak Spanish despite being obviously Latino. So again, it's not a matter of removing English, right? Because even at the strategic planning meeting last year, I spoke with many parents, non-Spanish, non-Latino parents who wanted a second language introduced in the school system. So I would really like for a dual language program to be in. I would really appreciate it. And before I go, Mrs. Claudia Parker, I was so sad to not see your name on the ballot. As you know, being here in all these board meetings and sitting through them, it has been wonderful watching you like question everything. You are attentive and inquisitive, and it is a loss to parents and students to see you go from the district. You will be missed very much. Well, best of luck to you and your beautiful family, and thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. Warm my heart.
Have either of the two?
I think you can read, no, I don't think so, but you can read that.
I can? Oh, sure I can. Okay. So we had, so Glenda, I do have one, why don't we do the last person in person? Okay, thank you. And that's Adriana Perez.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? I am an interpreter and translator with the Early Intervention Program of Illinois. So obviously, I know how important it is to have both languages. I am Mexican, totally. I had never studied here, so all my studies were in Mexico. I know how to read, but I do not know how to teach my child to read in Spanish. I know he had the pre-K in a Catholic school because I could not afford to have him in public school. I had to work. So the only way to get him into pre-K and be able to work was private school. So teacher did not speak any Spanish. And it took him like 3 months, and then he was fluent in English. I was like, oh, good, awesome. But then I didn't see, like when he came first to the district and they evaluated him, he obviously did not qualify because he was talking through his elbows, both in English and Spanish. But talking is one thing, and being able to read and write is another. My son has not lost the ability to communicate with his family in Mexico, because I have always made a very high impact, and I'm all the time correcting him and giving him vocabulary, which I probably have the ability to do because of the education I had back in Mexico, but not all our families have that ability. Not all our families know how to say a word correctly in Spanish, and they don't know how to correct their children, and they obviously don't know how to teach them to read and write in Spanish. So I've honestly been thinking of taking him over there in the summer to have a teacher kind of like do an extra class to teach him how to read and write in Spanish. But I think if we were to have a dual program, it would save a lot of money and help many other children that are non-native but could benefit, not native speakers of Spanish, but could benefit of having 2 languages as a work opportunity further in life. Thank you.
So, Glenda Fernandez, also a parent in the district, was also advocating for the bilingual program to continue as it's very important for her daughter. And Michaela Galvin as well, interested in the bilingual program to be extended, so. But we went too long for them to, yes, and I understand that. Thank you all who spoke and shared this evening, I absolutely do appreciate it. You've given us lots of food for thought, so thank you. Okay. Board reports. You ready for an arrow report? Sure. Thank you so much.
Yes. You might be celebrating that one.
No, as I've said, I was happy to serve. So we met on March 20th, and we received, as we do at each meeting, construction updates, and they're anticipating the construction on the new building to be completed at the end of July. But they expressed a need to accelerate the interior finishes. That's like one area that they're not as pleased with the speed of the progress. But on the positive side, they've come up with a schedule that they feel will be conducive with these construction updates and have the new building ready for everyone. So they will be starting school on Tuesday, September 5th. So a bit later than us, and I think I got the impression they worked very hard to figure out an end date so that Arrow students wouldn't be going to school until the end of June, while their counterparts in neighboring districts would be. So with thinking about days off and such, they came up with the end date of June 12th. So it'll be a little bit longer, but everybody seemed amicable to that, so they did the best they can. Yeah, they did the best they can with the construction, and some of that is, of course, out of their hands. The other positive news from them was that their vacancy report, that they're really closing the gap of their need for teachers. At this point, these numbers were much larger earlier in the year. They have 3 teacher vacancies, 3 speech vacancies, and 2 social workers. That was actually a big celebration for them because they've had significantly more vacancies through the year. So it's good news that they will have this big, beautiful building, and it will be staffed. That's definitely a necessity. So the meeting on the 20th ended with what was a very brief report that Dr. Ganell informed the governing board that they have yet to receive the grant funding that was promised from the state. He did not elaborate on that, but clearly it's a cause for concern. Dr. Woodland's met with the executive board since then, so more information's been shared. So may I turn it to you?
Yes, of course. So at this time, we have not received the funding from the state. I just wanna say that I don't think it was anyone's intention to not release the funding. However, in the same vein, there is sense of urgency associated with them needing the funding. There is approximately a $3 million bill that Arrow will have to pay come May. And if the funding is not released, there will have to be contributions from the 11 districts. There are 5 that are in agreement that at this point, it's not one of, it will not be coming from us to date. However, as a result of that, as you know, I've recommended putting our HVAC project on hold due to the fact that we are not in the place or space to really take a chance in saying whether or not we will receive this state funding at this time. Do you want me to start?
But this would be reimbursable for those people who kind of loaned it until the state releases the funds, correct?
If they release it.
But we were assured that the $25 million was going to be granted, right?
That is correct. We were assured.
So it's just late.
That's our hope.
That's our hope. Another reason why we should really be careful about renewing a 12-year TIF when we now have to. I know everybody's laughing at me that that's a lot. I mean,
Do we have any?
am I wrong?
Do we have any
I was thinking that.
indication that they would tell us that we were going to receive these funds and then just not pay it?
Claudia, there are many reasons why they do not fund some of that, and there is going to, we could
I
get
love
a
you,
list
but
of.
I really want her to answer.
Yeah, but we can get in line behind all the people that they need to get paid by the state for this, correct?
What I can say is that the actual, I have verified that the actual grant was put into legislation, so it was put into law. So that's a positive factor. The positive factor regarding that is there's potential for litigation, I guess, in the event they don't release the funding. It's a matter of when we get the funding. And so there are definite steps that, as an executive board, that we are putting into place to reach out to our senators to ensure that they understand that there's a sense of urgency around this. And so I think it's really important for us to all understand there is a direct sense of urgency for the state of Illinois to release the funding. And I'm saying that on the record tonight. There is a direct sense of urgency. And I had to make a very unfortunate phone call to Eric on that day, and I had to say, I'm sorry, you have to hold the HVAC project. And it's because in the event we need to pay an additional fee to Arrow that we have the money to do so.
Because again, that directly impacts our most educationally fragile students. And to look at them and say, but we're going to give the village more money for this tip, and I'm not getting off it because it's my last meeting, and I'm gonna tell y'all that we would be fiscally irresponsible to give the money over to them versus our kids who are in our district who need those funds, and yet we cannot, we don't have a money tree in our backyard.
And I do have every bit of hope that we will receive the funding. I do. I mean,
Well, but it could be years. I mean, we have been waiting a long time for this.
It's a matter of when, and the other 5 cooperative school districts are only going to be willing to front us money for so long. And I think that's the one thing that we do need to be conscientious of. If they're only willing to give us a loan for a short period of time,
But I think in the beginning, we went into this agreement, no matter what, like we knew it was the right thing to do to build this building. And we knew whether or not the state gave us money, that we could be responsible for the second half. So it's unfortunate that they have not funded this.
yeah, and
I
I
mean,
disagree with that.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like, the bigger picture is like, where we're getting this money, oh, we're gonna take it from our students to give to our other students, right? Which is,
Yes, and I think we have to be mindful of the fact that these are our kids.
Right, these are our
And
kids, right.
We committed to this project, and I do
Absolutely.
believe that Arrow has all the intentions of doing the right things in terms of programming and making sure they're addressing the needs of students with disabilities. And I will support that 100%. It's a matter of the commitment that the state made.
Right.
And so there is particular action that we're taking. I just think we need to be mindful of the fact that we don't have state funding, and a bill will come to Arrow in May of $3 million that needs to be paid.
Right. And hopefully, right, like, is there a possibility, I'm gonna tell you, I told you a long time ago, we ain't getting that money. It's kind of like special education, it doesn't matter that the state of Illinois no longer like, or, you know, those kind of fundings are there, we have to find the money for it, and so we just have to be really mindful of what we're willing to give up for our students, cause that is what it is. We are giving up things for our students when we start giving our tax dollars to possibilities in the future of unknown for the next 12 years.
Yeah. All right, board committee.
Yep.
Thanks, Judy. Going out with a bang.
Yes. Unfortunately, I think. That's the last bit of news delivered.
Dr. Reynolds, like, don't get Kim started.
I know. Next meeting is in May.
It's May 15th, yeah.
It's in May, Judy says, it's in May 15th. Okay, board committee of the whole meeting dates, we were given the list in our board packet. I checked things like Easter, which is March 31st, so we won't have to move anything for spring break. The note too is that November and December are our Tuesday nights because of conference and the holidays. So, is there any conversation or questions about that? No. Not deciding to do them on Saturday mornings or anything like that? Sunday. No.
And really, next month is when you'll really kind of solidify it because your new board will be taken.
Yes, absolutely. Which brings us to, right, so.
Election results.
Election results, absolutely. So we have two returning board members. Congratulations to Michael Allmiller for his election. Yay! 2-year term. Congratulations to Denise Jones for her election to her 4-year term. And in addition, we welcome newly elected board members Lauren Dowden and David Shepard, who are both elected to our 4-year term. Thank you very much. Well, thank all 4 of you truly for all of your hard work that brought you to this point. Getting the forms filled out, getting it all notarized. I mean, yeah, there's a whole standing in line.
Standing in that cold line.
21, we did it outside.
Yeah, we had to do it outside.
Like 1 a.m.
I forgot about that.
It's still a little chilly. Still a little chilly. But truly, thank you mostly for your willingness to run for office and to be a part of the good work to serve our District 124 community. So Tuesday, April 25th, this is all the legal stuff, is the last day for the election authority to canvass the election returns. So that's why we still have our current board members at this meeting, because our new folks aren't official until April 25th. So from there, then we have to seat our new board legally by Saturday, May 13th. So we will seat our new board right here on Wednesday, May 3rd at a special board meeting. You're all welcome. There will be cupcakes.
There'll be cupcakes.
Family members are, of course, welcome and encouraged to come along. And that is where we will officially bid a fond farewell and then welcome our 2 new folks. And we will also be, we'll be putting up an EdLeo form.
Yes.
Via all of our communications channels and also for the village to find, she is irreplaceable, but to find a replacement for Judy. So we'll walk through that process online and we'll receive applications, and all of that interview process for people who might be interested will happen after our new board is seated, obviously. So, okay, thank you so much. It's the Colleen show, sorry about that. Okay, so item E is the Judy Mulcrone Scholarship Discussion. What's that? Oh, facilities.
Yeah.
Do you want me to report on? I mean, I was there, but someone else is
Rachel's
prepared.
It was really short, I mean,
It's good.
well, but forget about the one part, but.
We were hoping. I'm not saying permanently, I'm saying just a little bit of time.
Alright, well, it was March 30th, it was less than an hour of the meeting, it wasn't even that long, it was more of an update. They talked about the central bathrooms, which we're very excited that you get to leave on that.
Are they getting,
It's one of the current projects, and then the southeast gym floor, I'm not sure if they're still working on that or if it's.
And that we will be getting a brand new floor at Southeast
Oh,
due
we
to the
are.
lovely flood.
The flood, so they made out,
Watergate.
they made out.
Yeah.
We made out.
They made out, it was meant
Sometimes
to
you
be,
get luck with a flood.
it was meant to be,
Yes, it was meant to be.
And Central is getting more bathrooms.
More bathrooms.
more
yes.
bathrooms.
We're
12
finishing
years,
bathrooms.
Dr. Zampello, 12 years.
Thank you.
Been asking for bathrooms
I
for 12
visited-
years.
Side note, I've been visiting the fifth graders this week, and one student asked me today, no joke, is it true that your bathrooms are stinky? And I was able to say, I don't know for sure, we're getting all brand new bathrooms.
No, they shouldn't be.
So thank
They
you for that,
shouldn't
you
be.
helped me sell sections of our fifth graders.
There we go.
As a result of new bathrooms.
They won't be stinky.
It will not be stinky, you're getting new bathrooms.
I thought it was a boy.
No, it's actually a girl.
Oh, it was. Just.
Everyone loves the bathrooms, they just want to talk about bathrooms. And then we also talked about, we're trying to get a new attorney firm, architecture firm?
Yeah, not a new attorney firm.
Architecture, oh
Architect.
gosh.
Yes, we're gonna go out for RFQ for a new architect.
And then, well, we also talked about the HVAC at Northeast, but I think that's gonna be put on hold for now,
Temporarily.
temporarily.
We're all gonna pray together.
Until he said, but then we had a great discussion about needs and wants that I'm not gonna talk about because, they might not happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
We had a
the,
great discussion though.
no, I think the concept of needs and wants, it should still be a discussion.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of saying, how are we going to make responsible fiscal decisions to ensure that this happens?
Well, space and,
Space.
I would say
We
space
have
and
to address
mobiles were the
space.
big topic.
Yes.
Oh, and one thing we discussed was in the future, you were going to put the word out for the community of the
Yes.
different projects that we were working on
Yes.
to make them aware, because we talk about things, but they don't know what's.
That was last month.
Mhm.
There was a question, yes, we do remember these things.
We're always talking about the mobiles.
I know,
So-
yes.
Every month
And
we
so is
have
our
some
community.
conversation about a
Yes,
mobile.
absolutely.
And so you will see an article in our Perspective newspaper.
There you go.
Because we wanna make sure all of our community is aware of our spacing concerns that we have.
And that was about it.
And we did also discuss the concept of embarking down the road of community engagement. So if we need to address space, we want participation from our community, right?
Sure.
Right, Michael? Great.
Like more bathrooms, that's all these.
Oh, we're not getting more bad.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, now I will, Judy will go. Sorry about that, Rachel.
So I was really pushing for April to do the Mulcrone Scholarship, and then we put the deadline in spring break. I own this problem, so it'll be May. So we had 2 applicants, before last Friday and by Friday, and we've had 3 more in the last 24 hours, which is
great.
fantastic.
Right.
And looking at those, I was like, man, we got some good kids.
Yes.
Like, I really cannot wait to celebrate them. So I did send out an email to all 5 either students or nominators. Thank you for your interest, and that the original deadline for submitting applications was during spring break, but we decided to extend that a bit, and we will instead discuss it at May. So, sorry about that, but that's the.
Then we can bring them here and celebrate.
Yes, and I'm sure there will be more reasons for cupcakes,
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Do we
I mean,
always just
seriously,
have
like,
deliveries?
reading through some of these, we
They were
know we have
fabulous.
phenomenal kids, but we have phenomenal kids.
We do.
Like, wow, Yeah, so I love the ones that nominate themselves too.
I do, yes, good for them.
For you,
Yes.
that's awesome, like,
Like,
good,
that's
well
really
done.
great.
So yeah, we extended it a bit and, it was just funny, as soon as they got back from spring break, we had more than double, so there you go. So that will be a conversation for another month. Okay. Cool, consent agenda, action items, I have things to read.
You do.
I do. Okay, so consent agenda, A is to 1, approve monthly transaction reports for March of 2023. 2 is approve fund balance reports for March of 2023. 3 is to approve expenditure report and projected payroll report for April of 2023. 4 is to approve board minutes for the regular meeting of March 15th, 2023. 5 is to approve the closed session minutes for the regular meeting of March 15th, 2023. 6 is to approve the board minutes from the special meeting of March 22nd, 2023. And 7 is to approve destruction of closed session tapes from December of 2018. Item number 8 is the additions, FMLA leave of absence requests, and resignation with intent to retire, also listed on your agenda. So if I could have a first motion, please.
I'll make the first.
And a second.
I'll second.
And a roll call.
Kim Leonard, yes. Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Judy Rayson?
Yes.
Michael A. Miller? Denise Jones?
Yes.
Claudia Parker?
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak?
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Great. Do we have any of our additions here with us this week? Or are they lower on the?
They've given up on us if they did.
Okay, and if they're still here, like, all right, what's that?
You picked the best part.
I know, oh my gosh, this is a long one. Item B is to approve the new assistant principal at Central Middle School, effective for the 2023-2024 school year. If I could have a first motion, please,
Make the motion.
and a second,
Second.
and a roll call.
Michael A. Miller?
Yay.
Denise Jones?
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Judy Rayson?
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker?
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak? Motion is passed. Yay!
I'm looking at Paula's face like she's like, what's going on?
I'm like, I'm not applauding till I know who it is.
She's right there. So it is with extreme excitement that I announce that our full-time, no longer interim assistant principal is going to be Miss Christina Lavin.
Good choice.
Say that, Christina just really rose to the top, and it's really due to this need that the teachers and community have said we really need to focus on social and emotional learning, and Christina's skill set really aligns to the need to support that work. She's dedicated, she's committed, she's passionate, and it was one of the best moments to offer her the job because her emotion just immediately shines through, because I know she's willing to commit to everything that CMS is needed. So we would like to celebrate you tonight. I don't know if Dr. Zampilli, you would like to say anything on her behalf, or Miss Daly. I know they were both in full support as well.
We are both, Ms. Daly and myself, are very excited to welcome her to our administrative team. And I think by the person that's sitting next to me at the moment, we are not alone in that excitement.
Jenny's beaming from the back.
Yeah, I know she is.
Yeah, so.
One of the things, if you just to give you a little glimpse, if you came over to Central Middle School, just one example, the number of kids that come into the office looking for Chris for anything and everything is amazing and special. Almost to the point where I go, hey guys, my chopped liver. And then they laugh and we have a good joke about it. But she's already made a very positive and strong impact in our school community at the time that she serves in the term, and we're looking forward to what the future's going to bring with her on our team.
Yeah, we have a great team. Excellent. Yeah.
Of course, we have swag.
We got swag.
Thank you. I'm not gonna cry today.
Yeah, you are. No, I'm not. I'll cry at home. I won't
There you
cry.
go. Congratulations.
Thank you. We all coming?
We all right. Oh, give me a lot of photos. All right. They don't need to know in the picture that I'm freezing up here, right?
Well, I couldn't really celebrate until like the proof, so now I just like.
Yeah, and Jen and Joe, come up, please. Please.
Kathleen and Scott.
And Kathleen and Scott, I think you work for every principal in the district at this point.
Go ahead.
Just we were missing Matt and Carrie.
Sorry. Are we too wide? All right.
I didn't know my hair wasn't down.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thanks.
No, but like, what does your eyes look like?
I'll send you the picture to attach. You need it, I'm sending you the picture so you can also point it out.
Yay. Okay. It's gonna take us a while. We got a lot of people to approve.
Yes.
Beautiful thing. Okay.
Until we have an HR department.
Yes. We're gonna hug you next. Okay. Agenda item C is to approve our new case manager, effective 2023-2024 school year.
You gotta make a motion,
I know.
right?
I didn't know if you had a name
They're
on
all
that one.
whispering.
Okay, so, first motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
and a roll call.
Whoa, just slow down. Judy Rayson,
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Denise Jones,
Yes.
Michael Miller, Kimberly Leonard, yes, Claudia Parker,
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak,
Yes.
motion is passed.
Okay.
Great.
Going to introduce,
So, Joe, I'm so glad you got an assistant principal because I'm taking one of your teachers.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Really appreciate it.
So I would like to introduce Miss Allie Wilson.
yay!
Two good choices.
Look at this. I mean, Paula should come to every board meeting.
She brought us presents last.
I know she.
Oh, yes.
Now I gotta bring you more presents.
Paula, do you remember that you were at the board meeting
Yes.
tonight?
Got hired?
Yep.
And she was getting tenured at the board meeting that I got hired, and I was
That's
on.
awesome.
I was like, come here, little
Yeah.
birdie. Come join me.
Full circle here.
She's not stalking you.
So after a full interview process and an extensive interview process, she had to go through, I think I brought her through everyone. Made her sit through a number of different questions, and her passion again for kids definitely shines through, and I know she's again committed to doing the big picture work that Becky is going to be directly assigning her to do. So we are excited to have you, and I don't know, Becky, if you want to say anything about Miss Allie Wilson.
I do. I'm very excited to have Allie. I want to, Megan and I have been tireless. I can't even say
We're all
it.
tired.
It's been a long day.
Working hard this year, but she's really stepped up as a leader at CMS, and I'm very excited for her to step up as a leader within the district and be part of this dream team.
Yes.
Awesome building. So congratulations, and don't forget her swag bag.
Another picture.
You know,
Just superimpose.
I have your picture from the board meeting we took.
Oh,
That is so funny.
they have a liquor.
Yeah.
Scooching.
He's left us behind.
Support Services Department.
Dan's gonna have a lot of pictures.
Just take that spot right here.
Oh, I have cheese. Okay.
All right. Got a few more. I know.
Yeah, you might just stand. We got more.
We got more, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, this could take a while, but I love
Why
it.
don't we do both?
I know.
Picture, so
Only
we'll
one
go-
is here, but I.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking.
And we don't know which one's which, so
Yeah.
we don't, it just says
Yeah, how do you
approve new.
know?
Okay, so item number D, letter D, is to approve one of the new school psychologists effective August 21st, 2023. If I could have a first motion.
I'll make the first.
Thank you. And a roll call.
Kim Leonard, yes. Denise Jones. Michael Miller. Claudia Parker.
Yes.
Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great.
I'm very excited to introduce who patiently sat through the entire board meeting.
Saint.
Miss Hannah Featherstone.
We're so excited to have you.
I got swag for you too.
Hannah is a very brand new school psychologist, but she becomes very, very highly recommended by her references. She did awesome at her interview with Cindy Roman and myself, and we are very excited to have her for our teams.
Last picture.
I don't know. Which principal's taking her? I know they're all set. Who gets her? Right? The middle school. You're gonna be at the middle school. Yep. That's awesome. Look at it. You got your school.
He's getting up for a picture then.
You took one real quick.
You take one to get one.
They go.
She's trying to squeeze out. Don't let her.
Don't touch me. You know I will.
Great, thank you. Congratulations, Hannah. Great to meet you.
Congratulations.
Longest board meeting ever tonight. It's my last one.
All night long.
Okay.
Okay. Item number E is to approve a new school psychologist effective August 21st, 2023. May I have a first motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second. You can have it, Judy, it's your last one.
And a roll call.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Michael Miller.
Yay.
Denise Jones.
Yes.
Kim Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker.
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
And could we have her name or his name?
So Natalie Carberry.
All right, welcome aboard.
Okay, and she is not here.
She's not here.
So we will not be taking photos.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Where will she be
I
at?
know.
Where will she be? What school?
North School.
The North School's awesome.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Wonder if the principals knew that.
You got new people, all right. Item F then is to approve maintenance and custodian summer help for temporary. Can I have a first motion, please?
Well, I like her name, so I'll give the first.
Second.
And a roll call.
Kim Leonard, yes. Denise Jones. Michael Miller. Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Claudia Parker. And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Next, I have to approve the resignation request from Judy Rayson, board member, effective April 28th, 2023. I don't like it, but I will.
And if we don't.
I know, right? Do you have to stay?
If we
I
don't make that motion.
I know, that's what I was saying, like, if we
May we
don't.
have a first, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Michael, I know.
Trying
right?
to get rid of her.
And a second.
I'll make the second.
And a roll call.
Sadly.
I know.
Michael Miller.
Yay.
With deep sadness, we will thank you so much for your service. Yes. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Well, that would be a twist, wouldn't it?
Yeah, she could swing the vote in about 1 minute.
It's true.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yeah.
Denise Jones. Claudia Parker.
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
If I have to. Yes.
Motion has passed.
Okay.
Bye-bye, Judy.
There's the door.
No,
Right, yeah.
May 3rd. Actually, no, April 28th, okay. Item H is approving resolution honoring retirees. So I am going to read a resolution for our 5 retirees with years of service coming close to 100 between 31, 27, 16. Okay, I did not really do the math on that one. 31, 27, 16, 8, and 7.
Wow.
Amazing. Okay, so this is to honor Ann Scahill, Barbara Nelson, Kathleen Stastny, it's too many, Kathleen Walsh, and Ginny Butzko. So, whereas the Board of Education. we got 31 years of service. 31 years. So again, this is a resolution honoring our retirees on the occasion of their retirement from School District 124. Whereas the Board of Education desires to recognize the 5 individuals as listed on the occasion of their retirement. And whereas the Board of Education wants to thank them for their hard work and dedication to the students, parents, and staff of Evergreen Park Elementary School District 124. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of School District number 124, Evergreen Park, Cook County, Illinois as follows. Section 1, the Board of Education of School District number 124, Evergreen Park, Illinois congratulates Ann Scahill, Barbara Nelson, Kathleen Stastny, Kathleen Walsh, and Ginny Butzko on the occasion of their retirement from the district after many years of selfless service. On behalf of the residents of District 124, the Board of Education expresses its heartfelt appreciation to these people for their many years of devotion and dedication to the school community of Evergreen Park. Section 3, the Board of Education wishes them and their families all the best of good health, good times, and happiness in a much-deserved retirement. And we will approve and adopt these this 19th day of April 2023 by an affirmative roll call. So if I could have a first motion, please.
I'll make the first.
I'll second. Great. And a roll call, please.
Kim Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker?
Yes.
Judy Rayson?
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Michael Allmiller? Denise Jones?
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed. Congratulations to the retirees.
Now I want to do the math, but that'll have to be, okay, truly, thank you. That's amazing. Okay, so letter I is to approve resolutions honoring our retiring board members as well. And that is Kimberly Leonard, Claudia Parker, and Judy Rayson, so it's for all of you. Whereas you have provided selfless service to the students, parents, and community of Evergreen Park, Illinois with distinction as a member of the Board of Education. Whereas you have consistently considered the quality of education provided to the students of Evergreen Park Elementary School District 124 as your prime and overriding responsibility. And whereas you have significantly contributed to the many decisions made by the Board of Education with your open-mindedness, intellect, sense of fairness, and loyalty. Now therefore be it resolved to commend all 3 of you for the aforesaid accomplishments and to convey the genuine appreciation of the members of the Administration and Board of Education of Evergreen Park Elementary School District 124 for your dedication during your tenure in serving as a member of the Board of Education. Dated this 19th day of April 2023. Can I have a first motion, please?
I'll first.
And a second?
Second.
Great, and a roll call, please.
Denise Jones? Yes. Michael Allmiller?
Thank you to our board members.
Rachel Merrickwin?
Yes.
Judy Rayson?
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard? Yes. Claudia Parker?
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay.
It's the longest board meeting.
Right? We wanted you to remember us.
And
We
it's not.
really wanted you to remember us. Okay, so we have 2 more items. Item J is to approve the ELA curriculum adoption, grades K to 8. You were at the very beginning, and now you're at the very end.
I make a second.
So, thank you. A second?
Oh, Michael made the first, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So excited to hear that these are new curriculums for ELA, so.
Yeah.
Michael Allmiller? Kim Leonard, yes. Claudia Parker. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Denise Jones. Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
And Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Excellent. Thank you for all your hard work.
So
I know, right? And then item K is to approve extended day fees with no change
with no
to the 2023-2024 school year. If I can have a first motion, please.
First motion.
Second.
Happy about this, and a roll call, please.
Claudia Parker. Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Michael Miller. Denise Jones. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Kimberly Leonard, yes. Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Excellent. Okay, so we are going to recess now to close session to discuss security procedures and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, and the public or public property. Also, the placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students, collective negotiation matters during the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees
I know.
of the district. You're like, wait, this is all
It's gonna be
happening?
just as long.
It's on here, I have to read it. Or legal counsel, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or legal counsel to determine its validity.
I'll make the first motion.
Second.
And a roll call.
Aye. Kim Leonard, yes. Denise Jones. Michael Miller. Judy Rayson.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Claudia Parker. Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Okay, we will be taking action on the remaining action items listed on the agenda after closed session. You're welcome to stay, but, and we will not continue the live stream afterwards. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and sticking with us this long.